Hey guys, how are we doing this evening? Welcome on in, everybody. Sorry I was a little late on the jump there, but welcome in. Welcome to tonight's live. We are going to have a good live this evening. I can feel it. It's going to be a good live. Today's the 19th of, September. I always say that I'm going to say the date whenever I come on my lives, and then I never say the date. So I'm going to say the date today. If you don't know me, I'm Tanya or TitaniumBuilt. You can call me either or. Or if you want to in the comment section, call me something else. If you want. Don't do that, though. That'd be mean. Don't do anything too mean. It's good to see everybody in here. It's good to see everybody. And thank you, Be Happy, for gifting a membership. As soon as I came in, I was like, oh, someone already gifted a membership. And Reba, if you're listening in, I don't see you in here yet, you got gifted a membership. So I'm sure she'll be excited. She usually listens in, so I'm sure she'll be excited. And I saw Jan was in here. She was reading the documents that I was reading today. So it's been a day. The alien, Janet, I know. I read through most of them and I'm just like, oh my Lord, there's a lot. There's a lot to go through. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not new to the channel, still welcome. Welcome back. Thank you, Pocket American Bully. I appreciate it. This guy's how pissed off this BS has me. Yeah, it is a bunch. I feel like in a lot of cases, the defense, and we've seen it in a few cases, they'll drop a document and then it's either like on a weekend or like in this case, they'll retract it and they'll say, oh no, we changed our mind, or, can't put that out. And it just seems like this is happening a little bit more now. We're starting to get more information. With this case, everything's been locked down for so long. I think that's why when we've heard that there was a 136-page document that came out, we were all like, what? I know I was. Oh, Babs Forever. Well, I'm glad you're new to the channel, and thank you for being here. Babs Forever. I love that name. That's cute. So if you guys don't mind just taking a second to hit the like button, that does help the channel. Oh, thank you, West Virginia Hollow Girl. That's so nice. Thank you so much. That's so sweet. You guys are so nice. This is where the fun begins, Aries says. It is. It's where yeah. And it usually ends here for me because I'm usually asleep by the time we're about done with the live. Usually about the last 5 minutes, y'all, we're like talking and I'm like getting really super tired. And then I get off of here and then I'm like, usually I can't pass out right away, to be truthfully honest, but I usually do go to bed quickly after. And I always sound like, why don't I just go back on live? Because I'll be so tired, like by the end of the live, because we're talking, and then I get off the live and then I get this burst of energy and then I'm like, I'm going to go back on my live. And then I'm like, no, you better just go lay down, girl, because, I could be up too late. But if you're a returning Titan, if I didn't tell you, welcome back. If you would like to become a Titan and a part of our group here, we love the channel. We'd love to have you. So I'm going to go ahead and add the picture of Abby and Libby up here. So we're going to go ahead and get into tonight's live. So tonight's live, we're going to go back to Delphi, Indiana, and to the case of, Abby and Libby here. If you're not familiar with this case, this is Abby Williams, age 13, and Liberty German, age 14. Abby is going to be on the left, Liberty to the right. I'm sure everyone is familiar with the case, but just in case you haven't, or you haven't seen anything on it, or you're not familiar, I do have a video that Court TV put out, and I do have a full playlist of this case on my available on my page. So I'm going to play the Court TV tonight, and the playlist is available for you guys to watch whenever you want. I read like the PCA. We did just like timelines over this, and then like case updates. We've been really following this case since November of 2022. So to put it, in my own words here, this is like I said, Abby Williams, Liberty German. And Abby was born on June 23rd, and Liberty was born on December 27th, 2003. And they were discovered deceased near the Monon High Bridge Trail in Delphi, Indiana on February 14th, 2017 after they went for a girls' trip, just like a girls' day to take pictures. They had no school that day, the day before on the 13th, and they went to the Monon High Bridge to walk the trails like a lot of the kids do their age. They come from a super small town. I can relate. So when this case first happened, like when this case happened before I was in true crime. So on the platform, but I did follow this one extensively. There's a few cases that I cover on the channel now that I really cover. Like I really went to just to follow them. I'm not far from Delphi, Indiana. I'm just a few hours away from there. So I'm pretty close. Jan, where do you live? Like in relation to that area? I wonder, you don't have to tell us exactly, but I wonder if you're in the area too. I just thought of that. So let me put this here. This is the picture of the bridge here. This bridge is terrifying to me. I've said this on the channel. To put it lightly, I don't think you could get me on this. It would take a lot to get me on this bridge. It would take a lot. For these two girls just to be walking this bridge, oh my lordy, they were so brave, so brave. But I guess kids are a lot braver. So Aries, I really want to go. I want to go to this bridge. I've been telling Vincent actually for a while now that I've been wanting to go, and they actually redid the bridge. They redid the whole thing. So I really was like, I'm going to go across that bridge for these girls, because I was like, if they could do it, I could do it. If they could do it and they could take a video, I could do it. And so I showed Vincent a picture and he's like, you're going by yourself over that bridge. It probably wouldn't be a good idea for me, actually, since I'm blind in one eye. I can barely walk in a straight line to begin with, but I was going to do it. And then I found out that they redid the whole bridge. It's beautiful now. I don't know if I have a picture of it handy, but I'll have to look it up. They redid it recently. So it's beautiful now. It has like railings where you can hold on and all of that. Jan, we do need to go. You're only like a couple hours. Look at that. We're like the same amount of hours away. We can meet. Really, the higher the better. Not me. No way, Jose. So when you lose an eye, your depth perception goes away. So heights, I was already terrified of heights to begin with, but now it's like a whole other feeling. You feel like you're falling the higher you're up. Like it doesn't matter how far you are away from it, like from the edge, you just feel like you're going to topple up like over and fall. So it's not very much fun. You did, Jen? Okay. I remember. I knew someone did. You shared them with me. Well, I knew someone shared with me. It's a beautiful picture. I saved it. I bookmarked it. I have it somewhere. Things, truth, and translucent. Yeah, I'm terrified of that bridge. I was like, I will crawl over it. I wonder if I could find a picture of the new one. Because now it's not so bad. But oh my gosh. It's very scary. Oh, here it is. So like this is, oops, well, I stopped sharing. So let me share it with you. So this is the new one. Like this is the new before and after. So this is the bridge that I'm going to go over. But this is the bridge that they went over because they were daredevils, not me. No, I'm just kidding. That made me laugh. I would hope not. You wouldn't even need to. You really wouldn't. I would end up just tripping off of it. We went to Vincent already tried to kill me. We went to California. We were in California last week. We went to a conservatory. Not conservatory. I forget what they're called. But it's up on this high mountain. To me, it's a mountain. It's a hill to him. But the whole walkway to get up there is on a dirt road. That's like the walkway is like the size of your body. Like the width of my body. And then it goes off into like a steep ravine with just nothing but trees and dirt. And I'm like, there's nothing to hold on to. I thought I was gone. I thought I was a goner. It was an experience that I'm glad that I did because it's beautiful, but they need to get a better walkway for me. But anyways, so we'll go back and get to the live. Hey, Ashley, you sent me an email? Hey, girl. Okay, I'll have to look at it. Thank you. So this is the new document that's going to be coming up. So we've been covering this case, like I said, since observatory. Thank you. Thank you. Conservatory. I knew that was wrong. Observatory. They had telescopes. I don't know. Observatory. That's right. The Griffith Observatory. Now I remember it. Now I remember what it was called too. I can't remember it. But this is the new 136-page document that came out. The defense put this document out that we're going to go over tonight. They put it out, and then they put it out yesterday, and then the court sealed it. So I was able to. I didn't download it right away, but I got it because I was like, oh, had to get that download. Downloaded it, and now I have it all ready for us to go over. Shocking. To put it lightly. So I will be using code words tonight. I'm going to try not to, use too many, but when describing some parts, I'm going to have to use a little bit of code words here and there just for YouTube's sake, because, if not, we'll be the only people enjoying this video. We're not really enjoying it, but, we're here to learn. So let's go ahead and start off the live by getting back, caught up with the case. And I'm going to go ahead and play the court TV. It was, they put this on last night, I believe. I watched it today. I watched it last night and today. So let me get it set up for you. So they put this out 23 hours ago, and I was watching it I was getting ready to watch it for the third time, but I decided to watch it with you guys because I wanted to see if they went and redacted any of the names. So, from, the papers, because I really don't want to say, people's names if that's what they're trying to do is redact names. But to me, so the defense puts this stuff out, this stuff out, and then the court sealed it up like, nope, zip it. What do you guys take from that? Like, we already know, we've already seen it. People have already screenshotted this, screen recorded. There's been lives already done. So, the saying, the toothpaste is already out of the tube. You're not going to put it back in. So the cat's already out of the bag. So we're just going to read them. But what I'm going to do so that we all have our sanity by the end of the live is we're going to cut it up into parts. That way we can really give the victims and the families the respect that they deserve in this case, because it's a huge document. And to tell you guys, if I read 136 pages to you guys tonight, I don't think I would make it through. I'd be honest, truthfully honest, we would be, but, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play Richard Allen, or this is Richard Allen's, it's Odinists Sacrificed Delphi Teens is what the title of this is. So basically they're going to go through the new allegations, and they're going to go through everything, kind of like a timeline in the beginning to get everybody kind of caught up. And then they're going to go through the new allegations that are coming out in the court filings as of right now. So I'm going to go ahead and play this for you guys. And if you guys wouldn't mind just taking a second to hit the like button, and I probably will, pause it here and there just so that we can talk through it. But I do appreciate you guys being here tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and play this for you. Also, let me get a poll. Actually, I'll do a poll. It
was a mystery that broke the hearts of two families, terrified a small community, and touched the world. The murders of two young girls, Abby Williams and Libby German. The case became known as the Delphi Murders. The setting, a small Indiana town of just 3,000 people. On February 13th, 2017, Libby and Abby went hiking. The two teenagers were good friends and had the day off from school. The weather was unseasonably warm, but when Libby and Abby did not show up when they were supposed to get picked up, their families began to worry, and they began to search. Then, the next day, the bodies of these two girls were found, both victims of murder. Then, over the course of the next 5+ years, there were no answers, no arrests, just a series of disjointed clues, like two sketches that looked nothing alike, a video of the suspected killer, and a short audio recording of his voice. Then things got even stranger when police said they were looking for anyone connected to an Anthony Schatz social media account, which was not connected to the male model in the photos, but connected to this man who was arrested for child porn. Then came the arrest of Richard Allen for the murders of the girls, someone who was not on anyone's radar. Now tonight, for the very first time, we get some insight into Allen's defense and what he says really happened to Abby and Libby. A ritualistic killing committed by members of a paganistic religious cult. Tonight, we take a look at this unexpected, shocking twist as we continue to investigate the Delphi murders.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This next hour, totally unexpected, completely out of left field. Something no one here at Court TV, no one on this program was anticipating. Today, for the first time, getting some more of the details associated with the murders of Abby and Libby. Let's remember, this case went unsolved for 5 years. More than 5 years. And it was heartbreaking, but it was frustrating. It seemed like this was a case that could be solved. Small town, not a lot of people in and out of the area where these murders took place. You had some witnesses who saw things. You had evidence that was left at the scene. You had people who were there and people who said that they were there. But it took more than 5 years. Now, they investigated several different theories here because anytime you look at this case, there's very suspicious people with some connection to these two girls, including a child pornographer. You've got another man who's got a questionable past. His property is close to where everything is found, but lies about where he was on the day and the times of the murders. So you had things that seemed like obvious places to go, but it was frustrating, but it was confusing at the same time because then we had a video of the actual killer. But they couldn't, and then they had sketches. Well, if you have a video of the killer, why do you need sketches? And then there were two sketches, and they looked nothing alike. And then all this hubbub about some social media profile that they were very interested in, and none of it made any sense. There was no connecting the dots to all these things, but it seemed like there was a lot of information, enough to solve the case. And then Richard Allen appears on the scene. And all of us who've been covering this case and looking at every piece of information that was made public said, well, who's this guy? Where did he come from? Apparently the local CVS. But then as we went through the pages of some of the affidavits, we learned that this is someone who was there that day and told a member of, I guess it was law enforcement. It wasn't necessarily the people who were investigating the crime, but somebody connected to the park system, that he was there that day. Like immediately said he was there. And then you look at him, and then you look at the guy in the bridge and you say, well, kind of the same build. Maybe we should follow up with this guy. But they didn't until they took another look at the file after 5 years and then said, oh, maybe we need to look at this guy again. And then connected him allegedly to the scene through ballistics, an unshot casing that came out that's found at the scene, a bullet that's found at the scene that they can connect to a gun that he owns. That's how they're going to connect him. Plus eyewitness testimony, plus the video on the bridge. That's how they're going to try to prove that he's the one that did it. But today, like I said, unexpected, out of left field, 130 pages worth of information in just one of the filings that was released publicly before it was then subsequently sealed from the defense. And the defense is laying out all the information. And the headline in all of this, which we're going to deal with first, is that they are pointing the finger in a very specific direction as to who's responsible for this, and it's not Richard Allen. It's some sort of a religious sect/cult that follow Odinism. And it was a sacrifice. Wow. And they also released in the 130 pages, and we'll go through some of it tonight, what the scene was described like. And they submitted pictures, but those have not been released publicly. But they describe what happened to Abby and Libby and how their bodies were found. And the description does seem very ritualistic. And we had heard murmurs about that. But now, for the first time, the defense in their motion that they filed and the evidence that they're trying to use to support it are calling on all the stuff from the investigation that they say, wait a minute, all of this was happening. There was an investigation into this religious cult or sect and the people involved in that. And it was never followed up. And there's members of law enforcement, 3 specific members of law enforcement, who continued down that road and were upset that they weren't following that road. But now here we are. Richard Allen is accused of doing all of this by himself. The defense says he did not, and then they're pointing the finger tonight. So what we're going to do in the next hour is go through some of these allegations. We're going to be on this all week because there's a lot to go through from a lot of different levels. But let's begin with this allegation that this religion has something to do with what happened to Abby and Libby, or everything to do with what happened to Abby and Libby. So this is from the defense motion that they filed in court. Take a look. Members of a pagan Norse religion called Odinism. Now, this is key, I think, hijacked by white nationalists. So they're pointing the finger at white nationalists who, according to the defense, hijacked this religion for their own purposes. Odinism. Ritualistically sacrificed Abigail Williams and Liberty German. That is the headline. Odinism is the pagan religion referenced above, and its followers are called Odinists. Odinists are enamored of Viking Nordic culture. Evidence supports that at the crime scene. These murdering Odinites left behind obvious signatures, symbols in the forms of runes. These runes were formed with sticks, fashioned with tree branches, and painted using the blood of Liberty German. This is sick stuff, folks.
Just to give you guys a warning, yeah, they're going to go into some like details here, and it's some pretty disturbing details. I know that like other creators today that didn't download like the files for, they didn't download the files because they're showing them, right? They show them on court TV. They were just screenshotting them and then showing them that way. But it's very, very sick what they're alleging happened to these girls. And It's very heartbreaking. It's very sickening.
This is sick. Sticks and tree branches were deliberately, carefully, and proficiently placed on each girl in a certain arrangement, mimicking certain runes. At least one of the branches appeared to have its end cut off cleanly by some type of tool like an electric saw, providing proof of a preconceived plan. Additionally, the blood of Liberty German was used as the paint to mark a tree with a rune that looks similar to the letter F. With a simple Google search, these runes would be identifiable as one of the many calling cards of this pagan religious cult. Okay, let's dive a little deeper into this. Joining me tonight from Washington, D.C., retired police commander, host of the Profiling Evil podcast, also an expert in cults and types of cases like this. Mike King is with us. Mike, great to see you tonight. This is extremely surprising. Wasn't expecting it. We're going through a lot tonight. But let's start with this description of the sticks and everything else, and this religion, Odinism. My understanding, Odinism goes back a long, long way.
Yeah, I mean, I remember looking at Odinism as part of looking into pagan belief systems, and this Odinism is separate from what you'd see in Judaism or Islam or Christianity. It's a real focus on these Nordic and Germanic gods. So think, for lack of a better example here, think of Marvel Comics, because that Thor, the guy with the big hammer, and his little brother Loki, who caused all the trouble, they were the children of Odin. Their father was Odin, and he is this guy who gave up his eye in search of more wisdom and other kinds of things. And so as people look at these different worship systems, you have people that are looking at monotheistic belief systems, like many Christians do, one God out there, or you have polytheistic religious belief systems that look at many gods. And we really came to know this when we were doing the Who Killed King Tut stuff that I worked on with Greg Cooper. And that polytheistic belief system is actually what led to Tut's death. So you can't discount these kinds of things when you hear them, and you really have to dig in and try to understand them. But you also can't go down a rabbit hole without evidence that's supportive of it. And what we're hearing is some pretty interesting stuff.
And the description of Abby and Libby at the scene, I mean, it seems like there was some level of ritualism here. You're using this young girl's blood to paint some sort of a letter, and you're using these sticks to somehow, I don't know, send some sort of symbol or something. It's really bizarre. Let me read the description of Liberty German, because
okay,
again, this is tough stuff, folks, and it's really got to be difficult for the families today as well, as they learn all of this. Libby was found at the base of a tree with 4 tree branches of varying sizes intentionally placed in a very specific and arranged pattern. This is the part that's, again, gets even tougher, on her naked body. Libby's right arm was placed along the side of her body. One large tree branch had been placed on her left shoulder. This branch was so long that it extended above Libby's head several feet and below her legs for several feet as well. 2 smaller branches formed a V where her legs joined her body near her genitalia, with both sides of the V extending upward towards Libby's head, with one branch extending to the left of Libby's head and the other to the right of Libby's head. The last of the 4 branches extended across Libby's body on a line from her right shoulder to her left shoulder. This 4th tree branch was also connected with the other 3 branches and was placed under both branches that formed the V. Again, difficult. Libby's sliced neck was partially covered by this 4th branch. This is purposeful conduct that is taking place here, Mike. And I guess as an investigator, you could look at the way these branches are placed and try to connect it, if it is connected to some ritual, some group, some sect, or some religion.
Yeah, and I guess the challenge I face in these kinds of things, Vinny, is until we can see, and hopefully we never do, hopefully it's just something that's vetted in that courtroom, but you have to think there are many, many cases out there where inexperienced killers, once they get in the frenzy of killing, they start doing experimentation and other kinds of things that could lead to all kinds of wacky behaviors. So before things get assigned as being tied to Odinism, for instance, or something else, we have to really look at the totality of things and keep in mind, I mean, remember what they were saying in the 1800s about Jack the Ripper's victims and the mutilation that he was doing and the kinds of things that were going on. And there are so many explanations for things like a broken branch that might look like it was surgical, when in effect it might have been a very nice artifact of a really dry piece of wood that broke perfectly smooth. Rare, but possible, versus that young twig that's going to be kind of splintered and really look a little differently. But when you start getting things placed on there and you start seeing the staging that occurs, that starts to tell us a little more too about what was going on in the offender's mind. And again, I'm not ready to jump that this is a ritualistic killing versus maybe exploration, but I'm also not willing to discount what we're starting to hear in this thing if they've got truly evidence to back it up and not just theory and supposition.
Yeah, and again, apparently, according to the defense again, because they're the ones digging into the papers and releasing it through this memo, there were 3 investigators who were very much following this line of investigation. Now, let's take a look at the description of Abby's body. Abby was fully clothed. In fact, and this again, another one of these strange facts, Abby was dressed in Libby's sweatshirt and jeans. No blood appeared on Abby's clothing. Abby was found on her back like Libby. However, unlike Libby, Abby's elbows were bent, with her right and left arms both placed on her chest. Abby's left hand and arm near the left side of her face, and her right hand and arm near the right side of her face. Also, Abby's left leg was straight while her right leg was bent at the knee. The murderers, according to, again, the defense is saying there's more than one person doing this. The murderers also placed her bent right leg under her left leg. Above Abby's head were smaller sticks that had been placed over her hair, crudely mimicking horns or antlers. So,
yeah,
that description
again, is that
it's very posed. I mean, it sounds the way it's being described that it is posed. It's not like a murder takes place and this is how the bodies end up. This is specifically done. I guess the question is the reason, and is it in fact consistent with anything connected to Odinists or these white nationalists referred to by the defense that have hijacked Odinism?
Yeah, the challenge that we find too in these kinds of things is, again, we want to try to assign it because our minds just can't wrap around it. But clearly the way that those children were left is symbolic of what was going on in this predator's mind, whether it was a fantasy that he was trying to fulfill, a recreation of an image that he's seen before, or whether he was just working this out and becoming the producer of his own little whacked out film. It's really difficult, or their whacked out film. But I think you're really hitting on something, and that is the suggestion that it might be something more in line with a supremacist movement. And we know that they're speaking about in that document this tie to the prison system and to a really rough culture and other kinds of things. And this is going to really require bringing the two sides together to sort this out. And frankly, if they've got evidence, then the prosecution's going to have to say, hey, this is why investigators excluded it and moved on.
Absolutely. All right, Mike's going to stay with us. We're going to bring in some more guests. We've got a lot more to go through in these allegations by the defense, very specific allegations, and also revealing a lot more about what happened to the victims in Delphi. And coming up next hour.
In Park City, Utah, Corey Richens wrote a children's book to help her children.
Downhill. Guys. Downhill. Guys. Downhill.
That's the voice and an image of the Delphi killer. At least that's what we were led to believe for all these years. This is the person they were looking for, and prosecutors saying that's Richard Allen. I mean, kind of same build, looks like him a little bit. I mean, it's not a super specific shot, but there's more video and audio that investigators have. But now the defense has turned everything upside down with what they filed today. Again, not expected. And they say there's no way one person could have done it, and it wasn't Richard Allen. It was people connected to this Odinism. Take a look. Here's what they are alleging also, that there was a failure to pursue the Odinist links. A particular Odinite from Logansport posted on social media images mimicking the very runes found at the crime scene. A crime scene unreleased and unknown to the general public even to this day. So they're saying this person is posting runes, these images, letters, whatever. He was an Odinite whose son had been dating Abby. An image of two women, either dead or posed, as if they were dead on the ground in what appeared to be a forest. Both women had tree limbs and sticks arranged on their bodies. One of the women had her arm stretched out above her head, similar to the way that Libby's arm was stretched above her head. Wow. Wow. That's huge, right? Okay, let's bring in our guests. Joining us in studio, co-host and producer of Down the Hill, the Delphi Murders podcast, and Court TV senior writer, Barbara McDonald. Joining us from Washington, D.C., still with us, retired police commander, host of Profiling Evil podcast, Mike King. And in Chicago, Illinois, criminal defense attorney, host of Defense Diaries, Bob Motta is with us. Thank you, everyone. Barbara, let me start with you. Down. What your initial reaction to all of this, that there is this cult, this religious sect, whatever they are, that's responsible?
Stunned, I think, like everyone else reading the filing today, pouring through it. I thought I knew a lot of the crazy elements of this case. This one kind of came out of left field. It's a bit surprising, but, you know, what does this do to the prosecution?
Yeah, well, you know, reasonable doubt is one thing, right? Like, I get it. I understand the game that the defense plays. But this is very specific. Mm-hmm. We're not naming names, but they're naming names in their papers. Like, they're naming specific people.
And at least one of those names has been talked about many times in many of the groups. I mean, he wasn't unknown to people following the case. But yeah, there's a lot of details here that people have not known. My concern is people reading this saying, aha, this is what happened. This is fact. This is from one side. Yeah,
well, first of all, it comes from the defense side. And like I always tell you, folks, bring your salt, like a big grain of it every time. But, you know, it is what it is. It's going to be part of this case from this point forward. Bob Motta, let me ask you, you see, here's what happens. And we're covering another case with an alleged conspiracy up in Boston involving a police conspiracy. I always look at those cases and I say, okay, what is the other side saying? But then I look at it and I say, well, what if everything was flipped around? Like, let's say the person the defense is pointing the finger at was actually indicted and charged with this. Would there really be enough? And would everybody be pointing the finger at the person who's actually charged? That's just the way I look at it. What's your reaction, Bob, to this? Is this defense just kind of, you know, causing some hay? Or do you think they're going to get inside that courtroom and specifically name names and have this jury scratching their heads like, wait a minute, somebody else did this and we know who did it?
Yeah, I'm well versed in Karen Reed, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And much like Barbara, my head exploded when I read this morning. I actually was messaging with Barbara. I'm like, have you seen this thing? So look, this is not just defense lawyering, and the thing that makes it different, we're talking about a 136-page document with receipts. Okay. And we have affidavits from law enforcement in this thing. This isn't just some whole cloth theoretical thing. Now, of course, the state is going to have the opportunity to respond. And I'm assuming that they're going to. I don't look, as far as McClellan goes, it's a tough gig. Like responding to this, it's a tough gig, you know, because like the prosecutor has some issues that came up in this, in terms of not disclosing things in a timely manner. And I think that, you know, he's going to have to answer for those things.
And I get it. That's, you know, that becomes a legal battle with the judge, what evidence comes in, what doesn't come in, et cetera. I'm only interested in one thing on this show, which is the truth, trying to figure out the truth, which is what prosecutors should be focused on as well. Mike King, let me ask you, is there any reason, like if the evidence is leading to these Odinists, is there any reason for law enforcement to protect the Odinists? Would we have to see if the investigators are Odinists? Would we have to, I mean, I don't get it. Like this was the highest profile case they were ever gonna have in Delphi, Indiana, by far, right? You've got all these agencies working on it. Why on earth, if this is a valid lead, would they not follow up on it?
As you know, as a case lead investigator, you often know things about the investigation that other people involved in the investigation may not know about, especially if they're from the outside. Maybe like a trooper that picks up a piece of really good information and wants to share it up. And sometimes people really get focused on something and they're a dog on a bone that can't let go of it, and they create a theory before they really have facts. So they spend all their time trying to prove that they were right, and they actually become a detriment to the investigation. So that's really the mission ahead, I believe, for the prosecution, is to be able to say, these things were vetted, this is what really happened. And we're kind of seeing an inkling, I think, even in one of the news reports I read today, where they reached out and the prosecution is saying, nah, the FBI didn't quite say what's being alleged in the document. Heck, I don't know, Vinny, but all I know is that this is really good that it's coming out, and that their hand is being forced to say, we looked at it and here's why it was excluded. And if you got to look into their backgrounds to say, hey, they're not Odinists or they're not part of this conspiracy, by golly, you got to do it. But I think Bob was right. The first thing I thought of too was Karen Reed. If I could just make everybody hate the criminal justice system and disbelieve it and have no faith in it, I might have won already.
Right, I get it. Okay, now let's get to the real meat of the allegation here. Again, failure to pursue the Odinist links. Evidence known to the Unified Command. Now, the Unified Command is not part of the Odinists. This is part of the investigators, okay? These are the investigators trying to solve the case. Included the fact that fellow Odinites, blank and blank, we're not naming names, were close friends as late as January 21st, 2017. However, that friendship ended very abruptly in February of 2017. The schism in their friendship resulted from a fight that occurred between blank and blank in February of 2017, where he and blank were in the woods near a river conducting a ritual. One of them said or did something the other did not agree with, and they no longer talked to each other. The river was near blank's house. In 2019, the Unified Command, again, the investigators in this case, learned that in a totally different conversation with his ex-wife, according to police reports,
I was trying to find a good spot to pause Vinny. Okay, so what they're doing here, what they did here is they are just retracting the names. So when they pulled the document back, because I was like, I've seen this twice today and it was not redacted or whatever earlier. So I bet that's what they're doing with the documents. So when they sealed them back up, which I downloaded them, but when they sealed them back up, they're probably just saying like, hey, if you're going to put this stuff out, like probably shouldn't have, but if you're going to put it out, don't put people's names out there in the documents, because there's a lot of names in the documents. Like they're pointing fingers, and they're not just saying like over there. They're saying like this person, and this person. So that's why I wanted to pause it. I want to let you guys know that. But we'll see where we're at whenever we get to the documents, if we say the names or not.
Blank told his ex-wife that blank and his people killed Abigail Williams and Liberty German because one of their mothers was mixing with other people outside the mother's race. And that's how we get to the link of the white nationalist hijacking of Odinism. Barbara McDonald, what do you think of this? This is very specific. We're not naming names. The defense does. But it seems like you've got a potential admission. There's a little double hearsay going on here,
right.
but you could bring those people in.
Absolutely, and one would hope that they were talked to already and will be again.
They had 5 years to do all this, right?
Yeah, and you know, we've heard how many tips they've gotten in this case and how many people they've investigated and how many states they've traveled to in their investigation. I certainly hope that they have something to say about this. This case, it just sort of feels like it's jumped the shark a bit at this point.
Okay. Bob, to me, this is some form of an admission here, right? This is an admission to the ex-wife that blank and his people committed this murder. How does that evidence come in? Like, who has to testify to that? Because that would be more than reasonable doubt in this case.
No question. Well, they're going to have to call in the X, and they're going to have to get it in, and it's going to be a statement against interest. I mean, it's going to fall within the hearsay exception. If he said it to her, it is double hearsay. But you know, if it's a statement against interest in terms of, because the assumption is that he was involved as well, right? So even because it sounds like because they're basically naming 4 guys.
Can the defense subpoena these 4 people and put them on the stand?
Absolutely.
So that's what should happen, right? If they believe the Sioux did it, that's what the defense should be.
100%. And on top of that, in Indiana, they could depose them. Like, we don't have that advantage in Illinois in criminal cases to depose witnesses unless it's a death penalty case. Like, I would have the subpoenas out to all of these guys and I would be grilling them. So, I mean, they have that advantage in Indiana. And I'm assuming that the state is not going to be happy about them coming in. But I mean, the defense is going to have to do what they have to do in order to try to flesh this out. You know, I mean, this is 136 pages, Vinny. This is a lot.
Yeah. But and again, Mike, on the front end, this all should have been done, right? Like everything we're talking about doing now should have been done and may have been done. We don't know. This is all we have to deal with tonight. I talked about the grain of salt when the defense has the theory, right? No offense, Bob. No offense. Just I was a prosecutor. And this is the way I see the world. Another grain of salt when we have a statement from an ex-spouse. Do you trust the ex-spouses?
Who, me?
Mike. I'm sorry, Mike. I was going to Mike on that. I'm sorry, Mike.
Oh, no, you know, I mean, it's a mixed bag. And I guess that's where it's going to really have to come out what the motivation was for doing it, what she's been like during this period where she's not part of his life. And then whether they can get over the legal challenges of whether she's reliable or not. And, you know, I mean, this part of me that's the investigator, Vinny, goes back to the idea, if these murders were motivated because of a mixed race relationship, I suspect there are a whole lot more mixed race relationships going on in that county and in that part of the country. And why haven't we seen a whole batch of murders happen? And if that was the motivation. So I always kind of go back to well, it's possible, but how probable is it based on what we're learning? And that always kind of bugs me. And I always think about an interview I had with Richard Ramirez, if you remember that guy, the Night Stalker. I was sitting with him and I said, Richard, do you really believe in Satanism? And he smiled and he said, that was an afterthought the first time around, but then it became good business.
Wow. All right. Everyone stay where you are because the plot thickens, because the allegations aren't just that the killers were practicing Odinism, but also the prison guards. What?
We had gathered evidence to formulate a PC that we submitted to the court, and the judge did find probable cause for an arrest of Richard Allen. He's been charged with 2 counts of murder for the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German.
And that was a moment celebrated, right? Oh, finally, the case was solved. Well, now the defense is throwing a big twist in everything, saying there's these Odinites who are following Odinism who are actually responsible. But it gets even thicker than that. It's not just the murder. Take a look at this. This is from, again, from the defense. Odinites in the Westville Correctional Facility guarding Richard Allen. The evidence shows that during his pretrial incarceration at Westville Correctional Facility, Richard Allen has been monitored, intimidated, and mentally abused by correctional officers who are also members of the Odinite cult. 2 of those correction officers boldly wore patches on their Department of Corrections uniforms that proclaimed, "In Odin we trust," along with another patch displaying symbols of Odinism. Are you kidding me? Let me read it. Let me read the other one also. I'm going to get that in. Normally, corrections officers were within earshot of every conversation between Richard and his attorneys and between Richard and his wife, close enough that Richard would have to be worried about any conversation with his attorneys and with his wife being overheard by those corrections officers. Corrections officers even required that Richard Allen be positioned facing the window where corrections officers were videotaping the attorney visits with the handheld camcorder. The positioning of Richard Allen's body would allow the corrections officers to videotape Richard Allen's mouth as he talked to his attorneys. Richard would therefore not be able to privately discuss anything with his attorneys, such as, this is it, because remember, there's an alleged confession here. The guards are telling me that my wife and family will be killed unless I call my wife and tell her that I killed those girls. And they have that as evidence against him. Wow. Barbara McDonald, Mike King, Bob Motta back with us. Bob, what are your thoughts about this? This looks like it's going to be the attack on the confession.
It blew my mind.
Is there anything normal about videotaping attorney-client meetings? I've never heard of that before.
No, frankly, I was in Delphi in Carroll County courthouse for that hearing. And, because at that point they were trying to get Allen moved out of the facility because he's being held pre-trial, which is very unusual, in a prison as opposed to a jail. His lawyers were trying to get him out. And they ended up at that hearing, that's when this bombshell about these confessions came out. And obviously, everybody in the courtroom was like, we were like, oh my God, what is happening here? So to have this kind of information come out, and I immediately thought, okay, well, what is the context in which the statements were made in terms of the phone call between Richard Allen and his wife? Are they taking things out of context? What was the tone? So this gives us the other side of what was going on with Allen, because they had testimony on there where they admitted that they were using a camcorder and they were saying it was for the safety of his attorneys and for the guards that were in the room, that they were filming them. So when we see this and then we hear this allegation, which is stunning, a stunning allegation in terms of these guys wearing patches and being known Odinists, and they're the ones that are guarding this guy. Man, I've never seen anything like it, Vinny. These allegations, if they're going to get fleshed out, are just bombshells. And it's an absolute explanation in my estimation, and it's going to get vetted. Look, like you said, this is a defense coming with a motion with some incredibly powerful statements that are going to get vetted at a Franks hearing. And if it turns out to be true, this case is absolutely turned upon its head, because the biggest and strongest evidence that they have right now are those confessions.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Barbara, you were out there. And I mean, did you bump into any Odinites?
Not that I'm aware of, but
Was it a thing?
I've heard of different groups that perhaps have some off-center beliefs that operate in the area. I've certainly heard that in connection with this case before, but I've also heard from a lot of different investigators who've been connected to the case in various ways that that was all vetted and discounted.
And discounted. Mike King, we only have about a minute left here. I can't imagine that anyone in uniform is allowed to put patches of anything other than your uniform on there. It should be provable one way or the other. But it seems like it's the attorneys who were saying they saw this.
I have to agree with you, Vinny. I was really saddened and shocked if, in fact, they're allowing that to go on a uniform that would be standardized. And I think that's going to be an easy one to either prove or disprove by the other correctional officers, by what the command staff says and what the policy says. But if the defense says, hey, I witnessed it, that's going to be a little challenging for them to get over too.
Okay, so that kind of got us caught up, and it got kind of us even caught up even more. You know, it kind of told you what we were going to go over tonight in the documents. So there's a lot of different things that his attorneys are coming out and these allegations. That's why I put the banner up. That's what they are right now. They're just allegations. So I'm going to read over some of the documents with you guys, but I don't want to get sued. So I'm going to put this disclaimer because these are not proven facts. This is from the defense's side. So I'm hoping that maybe the prosecution will come out and make a statement. But what I'm thinking is they're just going to redact all of those names that are in that and then probably just put it back out there. I mean, we've already either saw it on a live, heard about it on like one of the news stations, all the details, or we've read the documents kind of ourselves. So yeah, inside uniform. Yeah, the like deputy uniforms that they wear correction officers use. So that I don't know. I don't know the name of his. Let's see. What was I looking up before? Oh, okay. So last time on our live, we did talk about him confessing. Richard Allen confessed like 5 times to his wife, to like his mama. He was confessing to everybody, it seemed like. But he had allegedly he had told his wife, Kathy, in an April 3rd phone call that he had, that he unalived Abigail and Liberty. And he told her that he did that on a couple occasions. So they do have that, but now his defense attorneys, and we're going to read this in the documents, are saying that he confessed only because he was forced to confess. Either we're going to go get your family if you don't confess, or you're going to confess. One of those type of deals. So we'll kind of see. But let me pull this up. I want to read this for you guys. Just don't come after me, guys. I have a feeling that the people that are named in these documents may just be like, if these are allegations, they're not true. Like they may go after the defense and try to I don't know if they could do with that because they're really putting people's names out there. I don't know. I think actually what they're doing is they're just going to redact the names and throw the papers back out there to us. So I think that's what they're doing. But these are easily accessible. Like anybody can get these if they wanted to get them. Let me see, actually. I'm going to see if I can look it up really quick. If I was just going to do like a simple Google search. See, looks like I found it. Yeah, that took all of like 2 seconds. Yeah. And this was 2 days ago. This came out. Sorry. I thought it was a day ago. And I thought I was on the screen. Huh. You think, Alana? I think so too. I think that they're going to have to, I was going to ask you guys, do you think they're going to come out with a statement? I think they're going to have to kind of come out with something to back up what's going on over on the defense's side. So let me close out a couple of these little windows here that we're not using. That way I have it all up for you guys. And I should have kept that page up so I could have copied it for you. But if you guys want to like read this on your own, I can get you the link. Just let me know. And what did I search? Oh, I just searched to see if I could find. Oh, so if you just search Richard Allen court documents, Reddit, it pulled up right under Reddit. I was like, oh, that took all of 3 seconds. I just went and redid it again just to make sure. I have them downloaded, so they're like in my own file, but I can get you guys the public link if you need it. So I'm going to read through I was reading through this earlier, and I'll probably read through the first 25 pages of it. That'll get us a good start. And then, we'll do probably a part 2, part 3 of this. And then hopefully maybe by then they'll have the names redacted if they want them redacted. But I don't really feel like saying blank, blank, blankety blank the whole live. I don't think you guys will probably like that either. So maybe I'll keep it to like a last name kind of basis, but we'll just kind of see how it goes. Also, if you're just now joining us, welcome to tonight's live an hour after we started, But if you are just now joining us, I'm going to welcome you in now. So if you guys don't mind just taking a second to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you. There are a lot of similarities in these, and Twitter has been off the chain today. Let me see if I can get you that real quick. The Reddit, just so. Oh wait, let me see. Just gonna go here. I'm gonna put this in the chat for you guys, just in case you guys are like, I need to read more, or if you want to follow along. So of course at the top it just has the case number, cause number. It says cause number. I wonder if that's like a typo or if that's just like maybe they name it that, but I think it's case number. So this is memorandum in support of the accused motion for Frank's hearing. And I wanted to, I had to look up what a Frank's hearing was last night when Jan was talking about it to me in the chat. I was like, what's a Frank's hearing? So what a Frank's hearing is if an affidavit includes false information. The affidavit in question does not contain false information and defendant has admitted the same. So that's kind of like what a Frank's hearing is. And we'll go over it more in depth in these filings. So comes now the accused Richard Allen by and through counsel Andrew J. Baldwin and Bradley A. Rossi and files his memorandum in support of his request for a Frank's hearing. And give me just 1 second. I forgot to put you guys over here so I can see the chat better. Because when I'm reading, I can't see very well over here. So let me just get you guys over here. Okay. Thank you guys. Okay. Thank you for being so awesome. Hey, True Crime. Just happened to look down and see your name there. Oh, awesome. Welcome in, guys. Okay. So the introduction is, because the facts in this memorandum are dense for anyone not yet completely familiar with this case, the defense is providing this introductory section similar to the syllabus that often precedes a long and complex U.S. Supreme Court opinion. The purpose of this introductory section is to provide the court a general understanding of what is, I'm going to make this a little bigger. There. Of what to expect concerning the facts upon which the defense will be relying and how those facts impact the legal arguments before providing the necessary detail. And I don't know how to say this word. I'm going to look it up. Minutia and notation And minutia, I believe, means direction. And notation to the record that could bog down the court as it attempts to unpack the defense arguments. The defense, therefore, will provide little arbitration as to the source of the evidence in this introductory section, but will then provide proper arbitration to the sources of the evidence throughout the body of the memorandum following the introduction. Let me see if I can. Might make it a little bit better if I do that. Let me grab my drink really quick. I might have to grab a water. Hey, Rita, welcome in. And thank you, Deb. I appreciate that. Let's see. So this is the table of contents. I'm not going to really go through those because that'll just get us too far ahead. We'll know what's going on. We'll know what's going to happen. So 8 things to know. This is coming from the defense side, so, take it with a grain of salt. This is only one side of the case. Overwhelming evidence in this case supports the following. 1, members of a pagan Norse religion called Odinism, hijacked by white nationalists, I can't say this word, ritualistically, I'm going to get that one. I can say it in my head. I'm going to have a speech to me. Ritualistically, there we go, sacrificed Abigail Williams and Liberty German. I know where they got it, but it's just crazy. Very early on, number 2, very early on, those in charge of the Delphi murder investigation claimed that they consulted with a Purdue professor concerning what resembled possible Odinism signatures left behind at the crime scene, after the Purdue professor proclaimed, according to State Trooper Terry Holman. So there's the first name. So after the Purdue professor proclaimed that it was not Odinism or any type of cult worshiping or any type of group that would have conducted the crime, the Odinism angle was essentially abandoned. I'm gonna put this over here too. I feel like I can't really see the chat tonight. There we go. Maybe that will help. Oh, if I can get it to sit right. Okay, sorry guys. That's a little better. Okay, so they're trying to say, that was abandoned after that. However, as of September 7th, 2023, the leaders of the Delphi investigation team, 1, claim that they can't identify who this purported professor was. 2, have provided no reports from this purported professor. And 3, have further indicated that they may never be able to figure out who the professor is. So, based in large part upon this mystery, Purdue's professor opinion, the Delphi investigative leadership claimed that it essentially abandoned considering Odinite, I hope I'm saying that right, Odinite involvement in the murders. And then the years passed. 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. Maybe it'd be help if I do that for you guys. Thankfully, during those passing years, law enforcement officers Kevin Murphy, Greg Furnessy, I'm probably not saying these right, Furnessy, and Todd Click continue to pursue the truth. Because of their curiosity and investigative efforts, the evidence establishing the names of the likely murdering members of this Odinist cult became known to the Delphi investigative leadership no later than February 2018. So they're saying that they've had, this information since 2018. Bernice, I know. She said, this is too crazy to make up. I'm like, there's so much detail. Like you guys will see there's so much detail. And I'm not one for I'm usually like one of those people. I'm like, if it's, the simplest answer is usually the answer, but this is like one of those things where this is like, they just threw a whole bunch of math problems at me and I can't even figure them out. Can't even begin to. So that's why I'm bringing it to you guys to help. So it says, due to either incompetence or a concerted intentionality, those in charge of the investigation refused to arrest or even properly investigate these obvious suspects. 3. On May 1st, 2023, the state of Indiana, by way of prosecutor Nick McClellan, received a letter from former Rushville Assistant Police Chief Todd Click, now retired, as stated in the previous paragraph. Click, Murphy, and Furnessy were 3 of law enforcement officers who worked the Delphi murder case. Sorry, I couldn't find my spot. Particularly focused on the Odinite angle as it intersected with suspects in Rushville, Indiana. Is anybody familiar with Rushville, Indiana? After reading Richard Allen's probable cause affidavit, Click became concerned that the information contained in Richard Allen's affidavit pointing the finger at Richard Allen was far less compelling than the totality of the information that Detective Furnessy, Detective Murphy, and Officer Click had accumulated during the Rushville portion of the investigation. The information that Murphy, Furnessy, and Click had gathered during their investigation connected men who practiced Odinism in or near Delphi with other groups of men who lived in Rushville, and then connected both groups of men to the murders. Okay, well, let's just see something here. I'm going to go to Google Maps. I'm going to see like where, I want to see where these are like located to each other's. And then I'll pull it up for you guys too. Because I'm curious and I don't know. So it looks like here 2 hours and 5 minutes from each other. It's kind of, seems kind of far to be like, you know, very weird. Okay. So we'll get back to this. The information that Murphy, Furnessy, and Click had gathered during the investigation connected men who practiced Odinism in or near Delphi with other group of men who lived in Rushville, and then connected both groups of men to the murders. Click was concerned that for some reason the leadership of the investigative team had failed to share with prosecutor McClellan the evidence gathered by Click, Furnessy, and Murphy. Click's concerns led him to seek out a lawyer to assist him in the drafting of a letter. This letter was then sent to McClellan. This letter was not provided to the defense until after it was obvious from the last round of depositions that the defense, who had doggedly pursued witnesses as far away as Georgia, would certainly be talking with Todd Click. McClellan had this letter in his possession for over 4 months before turning it over to the defense. There can be no mistaking that this letter is exculpatory in nature and could have been used by the defense as it prepared for upcoming depositions. I'm so sick of that word exculpatory, and I'll probably hear it a lot if I'm in true crime, but I'm like, oh, I'm already sick of it. So it says, however, it is apparent that McClellan only offered up the letter after it was obvious that the defense team would soon be learning of the letter's existence. So apparently they're saying that, you know, the prosecution had something and they were only going to give it up because the defense knew that they had it. So in other words, the defense, in other words, the defense team would obviously be meeting with or deposing Click in the next few weeks. At that time, Click most certainly would then reveal to the defense that in April 2023, he had sent a letter containing exculpatory information to McClellan. At this point, McClellan had 2 distinct choices. 1, sit on the exculpatory evidence, hoping that the defense team would refocus its efforts on another angle of the investigation. or 2, disclose the exculpatory evidence claiming that the contents of the letter were overlooked in the volume of discovery. He chose the latter. Unfortunately for the state, neither approach explains away the fact that Click specifically directed the letter to McClellan himself, and further, Click was so determined to ensure his information was consumed by McClellan that he directed the information directly to McClellan via certified mail. The letter is stamped received May 1st, 2023, Carroll County Prosecutor. Click's report landed at Ground Zero, a prosecutor's office with no more than 2 full-time prosecutors and a handful of full-time staff members at best. Could this exculpatory evidence have been completely overlooked? Not plausible. Hold on 1 second, guys. I'm going to just take a couple Advil. I think my hair's up too tight. I'm like getting a little bit of a headache. Okay, now I need more Advil. I have like 1 left. That'll be for tomorrow. I've been getting headaches every day for some reason. I don't know why that's been happening, guys. But anyway, not here to talk about me and my stupid headaches. Not only did the prosecution withhold the letter from the defense, but law enforcement also withheld several other exculpatory pieces of evidence. So I'm going to read that again. Not only did the prosecution withhold that letter from the defense, but law enforcement also withheld several other exculpatory pieces of evidence, including an 85-page compilation of reports by Click prepared in 2019 and several videos containing statements that support the defense theory of Richard Allen's innocence. This 85-page report detailed the investigative work performed by Click, Furnessy, Murphy, and others, including the FBI. According to the summary of Click's investigation that he attached with his letter, the Behavioral Analysis Unit and the FBI determined that the individuals responsible for the homicides were involved in Nordic beliefs. Okay, well, what's this? Of course, that's not going to... Is it going to give me a definition of that? No? Okay. I'm going to try to look it up through Google. Like, what does it mean? I don't know what Nordic means. And I need to know. Let's see. Oh, it's just what it's like, okay, so it's just what that group believes in, is what they're saying. This is news to the defense, as no member of the unified command in charge of the investigation revealed this information to the defense during recent depositions. This includes Trooper Holman, who told the defense that he didn't remember if the FBI's VAU unit determined one way or another whether those with Nordic beliefs had been involved in the murders. Trying to read the chat at the same time, sorry. See, Bernice, I thought that it was a pretty good PCA. Now I feel like I'm going to have to read it for the 4th time. I read it 3 times in one day. You think that I would have retained it? And it was long, I thought. But I remember reading it 3 times in one day. This information was and is crucial for Richard Allen's defense. And now that I'm reading those documents, I don't even know what's going on. Some of this exculpatory evidence is in the form of videos, was finally released to the defense on September 8th, 2023, over 9 months after defense counsel entered their appearance. The defense is still reviewing this September 8th evidence dump. Sorry, my back's itching and I can't reach it. In the brief time the defense has had to review this newly received evidence, it has found exculpatory evidence both in the videos the defense has watched and the documents the defense has reviewed. While the prosecution has been holding on to this exculpatory evidence, Richard Allen has been living in hell. And I will say he looks like hell. Like, he looks like he's been living in hell. Like, really. I mean, let's be real. We talked about it. We talked about it. I don't really know why they're housing him not in a jail. They're housing him in a prison. Normally, you're housed into a jail prior to going to trial. Even after trial, you're usually back in jail before you go and you're sent off to a prison. So they've had him in that prison for a while now, and either they're not feeding him or he's not eating. But one side is saying he's not eating his meals. One side is saying that he's not being fed. So it's really, I think that they should have housed him in a jail, but I don't know why maybe that's what they have to do there. I don't know. Doesn't Carroll County have a jail? That they can house him like separately? I don't know. Maybe that's why they're doing that, because it's more protective for him, but I don't think that he looks like shit. You guys have seen the pictures, I'm sure. Lastly, the evidence will show that the week of August 28th, 2023, Prosecutor McClellan and State Trooper Cherry Holman requested a meeting with Todd Click. By this time, the defense team had taken several depositions, including Holman, Liggett, and Lizimby. And the prosecution and Delphi investigative leadership now knew that for a while, the defense team had been aware of the Odinist evidence, at least the evidence that the prosecution turned over to the defense, scattered throughout multiple hard drives and many flash drives. The prosecution had learned in early August and that the defense had figured out the strong Odinist ties to the crimes, despite the apparent attempts to the prosecution, Liggett and Holman to hide this exculpatory information from the defense. Wanting to allay his fears that the innocent man was sitting in Westville, Click agreed to attend the meeting with Holman, hoping he would be learning that the evidence did in fact exist linking Richard Allen to the murders. Click's hopes were dashed. Paragraph 17 of Click's affidavit. Okay, so upon directing the letter to Mr. McClellan, I heard nothing from the prosecutor's office or any other members of Unified Command until I received phone calls on August 23rd and August 25th, 2023, which involved brief discussions regarding scheduling. During these phone calls, it was requested that I meet with Trooper Holman during the week of September 4th, 2023. I was informed that law enforcement officials intended to sit down with me and discuss with me the reason why Richard Allen was responsible for these crimes. I was told that he, Jerry Holman, wanted to put my mind at ease. However, during the meeting with Detective Holman and the second detective, whose name I am unfamiliar with, there were no discussion or offerings as to why they believed Richard Allen was guilty of the charged crimes. I believe the interview was an attempt by them to clean up their loose ends, knowing that they had given very little, if any, attention to the investigative efforts of myself, Detective Furnessy, and Detective Murphy. Number 4. Not only did Carroll County Sheriff Tony Liggett fail to include all of this Odinite information in his October 13th, 2022 affidavit for search warrant, and not only did McClellan and the Unified Command withhold exculpatory evidence, Liggett also concealed damaging witness statements that devastate Liggett's timeline, a timeline Liggett needed to be true in order to place Richard Allen at the trail when Abby and Libby were abducted. But didn't Richard Allen put himself there? Didn't he say himself that he was there? Thank you, Yankee Kyle. I just saw that. I was just look down. I just thought that. You put yourself there, bud. I don't know. That's why I was I need to read it again with you guys. Where were we at? Additionally, Liggett lied in his affidavit about the statements of other key witnesses or witness, further devastating Liggett's timeline. Number 5. Richard Allen has zero connections to any pagan cult or pagan cultists. And furthermore, no forensic evidence such as DNA or electronic evidence links Richard Allen to the girls or to the crime scene, i.e. he is a completely innocent man. Whew, okay. Number 6, most of the evidence backing these assertions was found scattered over no less than 10 hard drives and several flash drives provided by the prosecution, meaning that the defense is not making wild accusations, but rather preliminary relying facts and information that is backed up by the prosecutor's own discovery, even discovery that the prosecution just provided to the defense as late as September 8th, 2023. Number 7, not coincidentally, members, Odinists, that's what they're talking about, of the same pagan cult are employed as corrections officers for the Indiana Department of Corrections at Westville Correctional Facility. It is inside of the cold concrete walls. This is a little much. Of the maximum security unit of this dilapidated reformatory that Richard Allen is being threatened, intimidated, and mentally abused. Well, he's not in there for Sunday. Perfect timing, for a Nancy joke. But this ain't high tea at Windsor Castle, Richard Allen. If you're in Richard Allen's attorneys, if you're in jail or in prison awaiting trial, it's not going to be a walk in the park. Whether you're innocent or you're guilty, it's just not. Especially one of this nature. But if it wasn't them coming out and saying that the officers were doing all of this to him, I would be like, how are people even intimidating or threatening or mentally abusing him? Because he's supposed to be by himself. So number 8, did I read them? Yeah. Okay. Throughout this document, references are made to the Unified Command. Essentially, the Unified Command was the leadership of the Delphi murder investigation. According to Tony Liggett, Carroll County Sheriff and member of Unified Command when the investigation began. Unified Command consisted of law enforcement from a variety of entities, local, state, and federal. Unified Command were overseers of the entire investigative operation. According to Liggett, the members of the Unified Command are/were. So here they are with the receipts. They're bringing receipts. From Carroll County, Tony Liggett and Kevin Hammond. From State Police, Jerry Holman, Jay Harper, and Dave Vito. From FBI, and Rich Davies. And then it's going to go, now we're going to get into what Odinism, Odinites, and ruins are. And thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. Oh, he did what the lady saw a man with a tan jacket on, navy blue. Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry, I'm trying to mess with my earring. I feel like I get weird about, I always feel like they're too tight. So we're going to learn a little bit about Odinism. I hope I'm saying that right. So Odinism, Odinites, and ruins. And like I said, these documents are just that. They're just the defense's side. So, the names that are in these documents, take them with a grain of salt because we don't know if these people have anything to really do with this stuff. And if they don't, this is going to be like so bad. Don't come after me, guys. I have nothing for you. Odinism is the pagan religion referenced above, and its followers are called Odinites. Odinites are enamored of Viking/Nordic culture. Evidence supports that at the crime scene, these Odinites left behind obvious signatures, symbols in the form of runes. I have to do some code words tonight, so sorry, guys. But M will be, for, unaliving. These runes were, 1, formed with sticks. So the runes or the way that they were, displayed or staged and what was, put around them is what they're talking about here. So these runes were 1, formed with sticks, 2, fashioned with tree branches, and 3, painted using the blood of Liberty German. Now, I asked y'all in the chat, because we were talking about this earlier when the video was going. if you're at the Monon High Bridge, Monon High Bridge is a busy little bridge. You know, people go there to walk, people go there to bike, run, you know, do what they do. There was multiple people on this bridge that day. So how could somebody take the time for somebody to bleed out, then paint something, like paint wood, paint something, and then stage it all without being seen? I just don't, I don't understand how one person could do that or 100 people could do that. I don't understand how even multiple people could do that. They would have to be like, you're in charge of this, you're in charge of this, you're in charge of that. Like, I mean, I can't even, when I was a store manager, I couldn't even get employees to do that kind of stuff, you know, stay on task. So I'm wondering how, like, you know, and we're going to get into the details of that too, what they did. So, I mean, maybe more than, you know, one person could do that. Yeah. Sticks and tree branches were deliberately, carefully, and proficiently placed on each girl in a certain arrangement, mimicking certain runes. At least one of the branches appeared to have its end cut off cleanly by some type of tool like an electric saw. And that brings me back to my point. If they have an electric saw out there, nobody's listening, no one's here. How are you going to power your electric saw in the middle of the trail? I mean, unless you got your generator with you, or it's gas powered, I guess. But it's loud. It's loud. That would be loud. I would remember hearing, if I was in the woods, like on a trail, I would remember, oh my gosh, did you hear that like saw or something? I would remember hearing that. I don't know. They're experiencing what they're doing. Yeah. Kaylee, that's true. That is true. They were missing overnight. That is true. That's very true. Man, now that I'm thinking about that, yeah, that's heartbreaking, you know? At least one of the branches appeared to have its end cut off. Okay, I read that. Like a saw with electric saw, providing proof of a preconceived plan. Additionally, the B of Liberty German was used to mark a tree with a rune that looked similar to the letter F. Okay, never mind. I was about to ask if you guys knew what that meant. With a simple Google search, these runes would be identifiable as one of many calling cards of this pagan religious cult. Yet law enforcement in charge of the Delphi investigation seemingly and quickly abandoned the obvious correlation between the crime scene and Odinism, despite an obscene amount of evidence linking Odinism to the crime scene. And even in spite of powerful evidence linking specific Odinites in and around Indiana to the murders. Also, the court will learn in his affidavit for search warrant that Sheriff Liggett failed to inform Judge Denier, I forget his name, Denier, of any, and nothing, absolutely nothing links Richard Allen to Odinism or any religious cult. Also, no forensics such as DNA or electronic data extracted from his computers or phones or from his social media links Richard Allen to the crime scene. Okay. That says to the crime scene, but that doesn't say to the girls or anything, or to these murders. It just says to the crime scene. I don't know. The way they worded that. Additionally, nothing links Richard Allen to any of the Odinite suspects. The same Odinite suspects that evidence strongly supports sacrificed Abby and Libby in some sort of pagan ritual. Richard Allen had nothing to do with this crime, but rather is an innocent man, a patsy for the police, arrested 26 days before an election. How many years is it that they have an election? Is it every year? Let me know in the chat if this is like an every year an election, like that means nothing to me because this case was 5 years old before it was solved. You know what I mean? Like, so that wouldn't make sense to me. But if you guys know, let me know. If it's like an every 5 year thing, if it was for the police, like was it the sheriff getting reelected or was it just an election? If anyone knows, let me know. So it says failure to pursue the Odinist links. Law enforcement, failure to actively pursue the obvious links between the crime scene and Odinism is confounding. It is even more confounding when days and weeks after the murders, a particular Odinite from Logansport named Brad Holder posted on social media images mimicking the very ruins found at the crime scene. A crime scene unreleased and unknown to the general public even to this day. Who was Brad Holder? He was an Odinite whose son, Logan, had been dating Abby. And I can pull up, I think I can. I'll do that here in a minute. But I can show you a picture of him too, if we need to. But it says he was an Odinite whose son, Logan, had been dating Abby. So they're saying that this boy, Brad, Logan, or his son, Logan, had been dating Abby. One of the girls, of course, that was unalived. Brad Holder's social media post seemingly taunts the very police that refuse to fully investigate him. The defense believes that the court will be shocked at the number of clues or Easter eggs, both before and after the murders, that Holder openly posted on his Facebook page that pointed the finger to his involvement in the murders. Ooh. The pictures are uncanny. Let me pull them up. Let me see if I can pull them up. They really are. Let me see if I can find the. Okay. I was trying to find the side-by-side one, but I can't find it. But I can find the one of him. Okay, so it looks like maybe that's his dad and that's him. And then there's more pictures to where they're like, they had them side by side and they're very, very much, they look similar to the person in the video that we have, the shot and then the down the hill clip that we have. Old enough to date? I don't know, 13, 14, I would say maybe. When I was that age, I was allowed to have a little boyfriend. I think I was like going to the movies or something, Your parents would take you to the movies. Maybe I was that old. I mean, maybe I was older. Maybe I was more like 16, but I don't know. I don't know. I think I was like, but I feel like I was like younger. I feel like I was like middle school. Like I don't think I was in high school yet. So 16, you're going to be a sophomore in high school. I feel like I was like more like 7th and 8th grade. So maybe 13 and 14 whenever I had like a little boyfriend, and I had a really, really strict dad. As long as, we just like went to the movies and stuff. My parents didn't care too much. They knew I was a good kid. So, but I don't know. I guess it just depends on the parent too. However, a fact that is simply mind-blowing to the defense is that Brad Holder was never considered a suspect in the murders of Abby and Libby. State Trooper Jerry Holman, one of the law enforcement officers in charge of organizing and investigating the Delphi murders, claimed in his August 10th, 2023 deposition that Brad Holder was not really ever a suspect. Police reports written nearly the time of the murders reveal that Jerry Holman was telling the truth. Brad Holder was cleared as a suspect quickly on March 16th, 2017. Oh yeah, just hold hands. Yeah. Yeah, that's all. That's all I ever did was hold hands. Oh yeah. Oh gosh, not date. Not like, yeah, I wasn't allowed to like have the door closed or nothing. No. When I was old enough to date, even as an adult, like, and let's say I would just be there to visit, with a boyfriend in my 20s. My parents there would be no privacy. And there would be no hand holding even. My dad would probably have said something. That's funny. Old enough to hold hands, the 80s kid said. I got 2 daughters. Oh yeah, no, definitely. And I don't even do that at 13 or 14. If I could go back, wouldn't even let a boy hold my hand at that young. So on March 1st, 2017, Tony Liggett stated in a report that there were no leads required concerning Brad Holder, meaning that it was not necessary for law enforcement to continue to look for leads related to Brad Holder. Liggett made that determination a mere 15 days after the girls were emmed. By March 16th, 2023, Unified Command member Kevin Hammond wrote that Brad Holder has been cleared. The girls hadn't been dead for 30 days, and Unified Command had already cleared Brad Holder as a suspect. Unified Command had already cleared Holder as a suspect within 30 days, knowing that Brad Holder's son dated Abby. Unified Command had already cleared Holder as a suspect. Sorry, I'm going to read that again. Unified Command had already cleared Holder as a suspect within 30 days of the murders, although a simple review of Brad Holder's Facebook page would show that he was a proud Odinite that had an absolute obsession and fascination with ruins. I wonder what people's fascination is. I actually know what it is. They want to belong. So that's why they go to like those kind of like cults or religions that are like kind of like out there. Additionally, Unified Command had already cleared Holder as a suspect in spite of the fact that ruins found on Brad Holder's Facebook pages mimic ruins found at the crime scene and had not been released to the public. The investigation had barely begun, but the Unified Command had already cleared the very man that any person with even a small amount of common sense or curiosity would believe was a strong candidate for being involved in the murder of the girls. Now, when I was reading this earlier, I was thinking if the prosecution could do one thing, if they had like a slam dunk ace in the hole, they could just say they cleared him because his DNA is not at the scene. They have the DNA of the killer. Like they could say that. Like if they haven't told us everything, we don't know. We don't know. It's been so hush hush. So if they just come out and said that, maybe we would be a little more quieter. For example, the court will also learn, and before actually I start this, and this is what I'm saying. This is why we need transparencies in our courts and our court systems and our courtrooms. That's why we need to have, cameras, even if they're not broadcasting live on TV, but we need to have cameras. Court reporters always need to have jobs, never AI robots. We always need to have a real person always in there listening to these proceedings and listening to these things. It says here that, for example, the court will also learn that Unified Command was aware of a very disturbing image on Brad Holder's social media accounts that actually mimic the crime scene. On April 12th, 2017, Trooper Joseph Ryan Winters received a phone call from a man in Georgia named Ryan Boucher, who had discovered disturbing images in Brad Holder's social media account. Having somehow learned that Brad Holder's son, Logan, had dated Abby Williams, Mr. Boucher began reviewing Brad Holder's social media history. One of the images Boucher viewed on Brad Holder's social media account was an image of two women, either unalived or posed as if they were unalived, on the ground in what appeared to be a forest. Kind of like Abby and Libby. Both women had tree limbs and sticks arranged on their bodies. One of the women had their arm stretched out above her head, similar to the way Abby's arm was stretched above her head. Both women were clothed, and the stick and tree branch formations on these girls was different than the stick and tree branch formations on Abby and Libby. But otherwise, it bore a very eerie similarity to the murder scene in Delphi. And we've never heard anything about the crime scene in Delphi. We've only heard that they were found right off of the bridge. Ryan Boucher had no knowledge of the actual crime scene. However, after reviewing Brad Holder's social media sites, Boucher was disturbed at that image, as well as other images that provided insight into Brad Holder's fascination with ruins. Believing that the disturbing images may be something of interest to those investigating the Delphi murders, Mr. Boucher contacted Toby Lizimbi, who at the time was the sheriff of Carroll County. Lizimbi quickly rebuffed Boucher, telling Boucher that Holder was not a suspect. Undeterred, Mr. Boucher contacted the state police, where he ended up talking to Trooper Joseph Ryan Winters. After their conversation, Winters memorialized the interaction and placed the images provided by Bulcher into a Dropbox account. After creating the report, Winters then discussed his findings face-to-face with Jerry Holman of Unified Command. The body of this memorandum will provide details of that interaction. In his report, Winters requested law enforcement to re-interview Brad Holder. The defense does not believe Unified Command ever followed up on Winters' request. It should be noted that disturbing images found by Bulcher in Georgia and placed in a Dropbox by Winters were not and still not been provided to the defense. In his recent deposition, Winters said that he had attempted to locate the images but was unable. However, because of the potential importance of those images to Richard Allen's case, the defense team located Bulcher and then traveled to Georgia to meet with Bulcher. Those images are now in the possession of Richard Allen's defense team, who then provided those images to law enforcement. Again, these were important images that law enforcement failed to turn over to the defense. Instead, the defense located these images in Georgia and then turned them over to the very people who had the obligation to provide them to the defense. Now, did the prosecution ever have these photos to not give them to the defense? I'm assuming that's what the defense is saying, but very crazy. I was trying to read the chat for a minute. Oh yeah, I haven't heard anything about Abby being pregnant. I think that we would have heard about that maybe. I feel like some information. Okay, so like I feel like with them being in it from a small town, some information has been leaked through that small town somewhere, somehow, some way. Somebody knows something that isn't supposed to be known. You do not go into a small town this small with this many people and not know what happened at that crime scene, to be completely oblivious, to not know anything. I believe there are certain people in that town that do know some things. I really do. Because I know I grew up in a town of 22,000 people, but I moved to a town that was 2,000 or 3,000 people at one point. Oh my Lord, have mercy. Every day, the old men, they were the best. The old men at the diner, 6 a.m. they'd show up and they would be gossiping before the women even woke up. Like they were already there. The men were worse than the women. It was pretty funny actually. Was he? I thought he was 15 that the guy was. Oh, was he 18, Janet? I don't know. I thought he was 15. Let me know though, because I thought I read that he was 15. But if he's 18, then that's a little bit of a problem. Even for the chillax person like I am. So let's see where we. Okay. So Unified Command, which included Tony Liggett. You heard 19? My Lordy, really? I just started reading again. I looked down. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So let me pull it up again. I guess. Let me see if I can get a better picture. Let's just see over here. Can I? I'm trying to see if I can. Let me search it on Twitter. Okay, this is the same picture, but maybe this one, since it's might be a little better. This is him. Now, I don't know how old he is, but I'm curious. Let me actually show you the picture and the stuff, and then I forgot to show it. There you go. Maybe he is. I'm trying to see if anyone knows his age, let me know. I'm trying to see. If I could like look it up real quick, but I couldn't. So, but yeah, let me know. Wow, that's too old. Yeah. Yeah. Now that's a little, I mean, I'm not here to judge, anybody, but, that's a little old. That's a little bit older. Yeah. She was 13. Like, ooh, yeah, I don't like that. I don't know where I read 15. Now I'm like, so I don't even know where I read it. And that's why I didn't bring up his age, or I would have brought up his age a while back. Yeah, Nina, too old for a 13-year-old. Even if you're 18, even if you're 19, don't matter. Too old. Yeah. It says Unified Command, which included Tony Liggett, who drafted the affidavit for search warrant, was fully aware of the mimic crime scene on Brad Holder's social media, as well as other posts that mimicked the exact ruins found at the crime scene, but failed to do anything about it and failed to inform Judge Denier of this obvious suspect, Brad Holder, and all of the evidence that exists against Holder, making him a prime suspect. The court will learn in the body of this memorandum that Holder was connected to the crime scene and to other men who had confessed to the crime. The evidence of those connections will be provided in the body of this memorandum, including copies of those images found on Holder's Facebook page at the time of the investigation, which link Holder to the crime scene, as well as images found on Ryan Butcher that law enforcement has failed to turn over to the defense. So we've got pictures. The defense will also attach what the defense calls the Winters Report, which is the memorization, I can't even say that word, of Trooper Winter's interaction with Ryan Butcher. Liggett provided none of this evidence or information to Judge Denier, but rather allowed Judge Denier to believe that Richard Allen was a lone suspect in the murders in spite of zero evidence linking Richard Allen to the crimes at the time Liggett sought the search warrant 26 days before an election. Oh yeah, that's true, Kaylee. Was he 19 when it happened or 19 now? That's true. But I think he was 19 then. Unified Command's failure to vigorously pursue the obvious links between the crime scene and Odinism is even more perplexing when evidence known to law enforcement demonstrated a clear nexus between Brad Holder and at least 4 other suspects. Elvis Fields from Rushville, Patrick Westfall from Delphi, Johnny Messer from Rushville, and Rod Abrams from Rushville, now living in Cornersville. And these are all alleged. Unified Command was aware that Elvis Fields confessed to his sister that he, Elvis, was involved in the murders, even providing to his sister intimate crime scene details of which only those present at the crime scene would have familiarity. So they're saying that Elvis confessed to his sister that he was involved. And he provided information about the crime scene that only the person that at the crime scene would know. And he told this to his sister, Mary, on February 14th, 2017. He said that he was present at the killings and that he, Elvis, now had a brother and was now part of a gang. In February 2018, Elvis had been questioned by law enforcement but denied involvement in the murders. However, after being dropped off at his trailer following the questioning, Elvis turned around, walked back to the police car, and according to the police report, asked the state trooper if his Elvis spit is found on one of the girls. So he asked if his spit is found on one of the girls. But he could explain it away. Would he still be in trouble? The state trooper that heard Elvis utter these words, Kevin Murphy, was not part of the Unified Command, but immediately relayed Elvis's disturbing question to Jay Harper of Unified Command. Elvis also admitted to a different sister, Joyce, that he had in fact spit on one of the girls. Elvis told Joyce that he, Elvis, was on the trail and a bridge with 2 girls that were killed, that he was going away for a long time. Like, Who tells her sister that? But then again, I don't know. People are crazy. I don't know. People are, they'll do anything to get like, something out of somebody. But these documents that I don't know what to take from them. But Elvis's alibi for February 13th, 2017 was also probably flawed. Well, we should know his alibi. State troopers who weren't part of Unified Command determined that Elvis's roommate concocted a story concerning Elvis's whereabouts on February 13th, 2017. This roommate is named Rod Abrams. Abrams told a story claiming on February 13th, 2017, that's the day of the homicides, that he, Rod Abrams, Elvis Fields, and a man named Ned Smith were visiting a sick friend in Muncie. Unfortunately for Rod Abrams, this story conflicted with the story that Elvis Fields told law enforcement as to Elvis's whereabouts on February 13th, 2017. These shady alibis were relayed to Unified Command. These shady alibis will be further explained in the body of the memorandum. Furthermore, Unified Command knew that on February 1st, 2018, Elvis's sister passed a polygraph examination when asked if she was telling the truth about what Elvis had confessed to her. So that's what I don't understand is if Unified Command took the time to give Elvis's sister a polygraph, they had to have thought that his story had some truth to it, right? I don't know. Oh, that's so sad. Really? Gabby Petito 2 years ago already? That's so sad. Rest in peace, Gabby. Oh, man. Oh, that's so sad. Oh. He see if I, look at that. I put some little hearts in the chat. Oh, that's so sad. Unified Command's failure to vigorously pursue the obvious links between the crime scene and Odinism is even more explicable when evidence known to law enforcement included information about another Odinite named Patrick Westfall, who was living in Delphi very close to the murder scene on February 13th, 2017. Would like to know exactly where that person lived. I always like because whenever they say like he lived very close, like I wonder if that's like 4 miles down the road, 1 mile, or like 4 hours. I wonder what their very close means. Evidence known to Unified Command included the fact that fellow Odinites Patrick Westfall and Brad Holder were close friends as late as January 21st, 2017. However, that friendship ended very abruptly in February 2017. I don't know how to say this word. I don't know why. The schism in their friendship resulted from a fight that occurred between Holder and Westfall in February 2017, where Holder and Westfall were in the woods near a river conducting a ritual. One of them said or did something the other did not agree with, and they no longer talk to each other. The river was near Patrick's house. Okay, so if you're unaliving 2 girls, that's a little more than just a disagreement. And I'm going to do a little more than just not talk to you anymore. I mean, in my humble opinion, but that's just me. The river was near Patrick's house. An intoxicated Brad Holder shared this disturbing information with his ex-wife, Amber Holder. Amber Holder then relayed this disturbing information to law enforcement, who were not a part of the Unified Command in 2019. These officers then relayed this disturbing information to Unified Command. Liggett concealed this information from Judge Denier. In 2019, Unified Command learned that in a totally different conversation with his ex-wife, Brad Holder pointed the finger away from himself and directly at Patrick Westfall as being the person actually responsible for the murders of Abby and Libby. According to police reports, Brad Holder told his ex-wife, Amber Holder, that Westfall and his people killed Abigail Williams and Liberty German because one of their mothers was mixing with other people outside of the mother's race. So all of the mothers and all of the people in this, on the victim side, they're all Caucasian. So they're saying that they, one of the mothers was dating or seeing a gentleman of another race, which in this day and age, it still blows my mind that people can even think that way. I can't get my head around that. If everybody was the same race, we would be some ugly folk. No offense to all of us, but we would be some ugly folk. Furthermore, Unified Command was aware that Brad Holder had told Amber that I can only protect you so much if you keep asking questions. Brad Holder further told his ex-wife Amber that Patrick Westfall had many people backing him, meaning Westfall up, and that Westfall also had powerful friends. Liggett knew of this information for more than 3 years before Liggett saw a search warrant for Richard Allen's house. Yet Liggett never shared that information with Judge Denier. Additionally, Westfall provided a very weak alibi as to his whereabouts on February 13th, 2017. Westfall told police or law enforcement that Westfall, was at home the afternoon of Monday, February 13th, 2017. The defense is, okay, so he was at home. Better than Kohlberger's alibi, just saying. The defense is unaware of any search warrant that Liggett sought to enter Westfall's house or whether Unified Command instructed law enforcement to knock on a single neighbor's door to verify Westfall's alibi. Unified Command's failure to continually pursue the obvious links between the crime scene and Odinism is even more disturbing than evidence known to law enforcement, disturbing when evidence known to law enforcement included information about another Odinite named Johnny Messer from Rushville. So now we have another person in the mix. Johnny was a recruiter for the Odinites and was also the connective tissue between the Odinites from the Delphi area, meaning Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, and the suspects from the Rushville area, Elvis Fields and Rod Abrams. I think I need a whiteboard so I can connect the dots to all these people for real, to give us a visual. Delphi is located 126 miles from Rushville. Law enforcement knew that Johnny Messer was friends with Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall. I just want to see something really quick again. I want to see Google Maps again. Okay, so it's 127 miles. I was just making sure because I wanted to see if they would elaborate, make the number a little bit in more of their favor. So law enforcement knew that Johnny Messer was friends with Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall. Law enforcement also knew that Messer was acquaintances with Elvis Fields and Rod Abrams. Unified Command theoretically could claim and actually could appear to be claiming that this connection is simply a bizarre coincidence. However, Unified Command not only knew that Elvis Fields / Rod Abrams and Brad Holder / Patrick Westfall shared a common acquaintance, Johnny Messer, but also that Elvis Fields and Brad Holder followed each other on Facebook and even mimicked each other's Facebook pages, with Elvis Field actually recreating the photos that Holder posted on Holder's Facebook page. Shockingly, at his August 10th, 2023 deposition, Unified Command member Jerry Holman claimed that he did not even know who Johnny Messer was, nor what the evidence showed of Messer's possible role in the murders of Abby and Libby. It is additionally infuriating that Johnny Messer was cleared as a suspect in the M's when considering these facts. So, they're going to give us the facts of why Johnny Messer should not have been cleared. Johnny's ex-girlfriend, Taylor Hornaday, told police that Johnny Messer and Patrick Westfall were like brothers. She also told police that she had allowed Johnny to borrow her car on or around Valentine's Day 2017, and that Johnny drove her car up there to hang out with his Valander friends. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I'm going to know what day I let someone borrow my car. I'm going to know, and especially if it's Valentine's Day or the day before Valentine's Day, that's now called Galentine's for the ladies out there to be, if you need to know, Galentine's. It's the day for ladies to go and hang out with the friends. So I'm pretty sure you would know that. Like, I don't know. But maybe she didn't want to be specific. She wasn't sure. When he returned her vehicle, it had dry blood all over one side of it. Johnny Messer refused to discuss the details of how the blood got there. Johnny Messer's ex-girlfriend further stated that it took her several car washes to finally remove the blood. You say, how did this get in my car? And he says, I don't know. And you just clean it. You just clean it up. That's disgusting. Like, really? Like, I mean, who would do that? Who the hell would, I mean, really, guys, I'm sorry, but who would do that? What woman? What anybody? What human? Guy or girl? Guy, girl, guy. Both. If you're both, whatever. But would take their significant other, their partner's vehicle, bring it back to them with blood in it, and then say, I don't know where it came from. And then on the flip side of that, would you be the person that just goes and cleans the car out? And you can't just get it out with like one little like wet wipe. You need the whole damn car wash a few times to get it cleaned. I would be like, you better tell me where the blood came from, or I'm gonna take this to the cops. But that's how I'm a little crazy like that. But that's what I would do. Like, I mean, I'm sure a lot of women would say that, and a lot of men would say that. That's, to me, I would be like, yeah, T-Sauce, I'd be calling the police too. I'd be like, you better tell me where. You know what? Actually, this is what I would do, because this is what I've done before. I would say, do you want to tell me where the blood came from? Or do you want me to tell you where it came from? And then usually they spill it because they think you know something you don't know. It's worked before. Let's see here. So, Johnny Messer's ex-girlfriend further stated that it took her several car washes to finally remove the B. Meanwhile, Messer has claimed that he had never, not once in his life, been to Delphi, home of his brother, Patrick Westfall, and near the home of his other Odinite brother, Brad Holder. And they're doing, quotes for brother. Messer's ex-girlfriend also told law enforcement that Brad Holder and Johnny Messer were two of the most violent people she knew and were fully capable of having been involved in the murders. Johnny Messer's ex-girlfriend further stated that a motive for their involvement in the murder of Abby and Libby might be the concept of blood in and blood out, which means, okay, so this is the concept they're saying, social acceptance into their secret circles. All this information was relayed to Liggett and the Unified Command team, yet Unified Command provided no guidance as to what to do to capitalize on this information in order to work together solving the murders. Additionally, Unified Command learned that Johnny Messer's ex-girlfriend had been listening to and recording Johnny Messer's phone calls. Police secured the phone and listened to 3 phone calls involving Johnny Messer. In 2 of those phone calls, Messer was offering money to other people to find someone so they could be injured or killed. The 3rd call involves Messer bragging about holding a subject hostage and shooting them at his house. Now, I wonder if this guy actually does these things, or if he's just talking out of his butt. Because, some people just be talking. We don't know. We don't know yet. Essentially, Unified Command said nothing to see here regarding Johnny Messer and issued no search warrants for his home. None have been disclosed to the defense, nor did they attempt to utilize an age-old investigative tool referred to as an interrogation to pursue the truth about the involvement of Johnny Messer, Brad Holder, or Patrick Westfall in these crimes. I like the defense's attitude. Says, nor did they attempt to utilize an age-old investigative tool referred to as an interrogation. We've all heard of it. Wow. Many more shocking facts concerning this so-called investigation will be revealed in the body of the memorandum. Now, I just thought of this. Do you think that they brought out this huge document, 136 pages, because it's going to take the prosecution time to, even if they want to, give an answer back and say something about these documents, it's going to take them time to read them and figure out what's going on. I feel like maybe that's why they're planting this seed of doubt. If that's what they're doing, in fact. This is all alleged. The next one we're going to go over is Odinists in Westville Correctional Facility guarding Richard Allen. So now the defense is going to come out and say that there are Odinists, there are these people in this, religious or this group of, I guess, cult group. I don't know what you call that. I hate to call them something they're not, but, for the vast people that are in these groups, I don't know about these groups yet. So I'm still learning. But they're saying that the guards that were, around Richard Allen, that were guarding him, that were in charge of him, were Odinists themselves. That's why he was treated so poorly and all of these things. So we're going to read through this part of it. And thank you guys so much again for being here. I appreciate you guys. And we're going to read through another 6 pages, and then we'll cut it off for tonight, and then we'll pick back up on our next live about this case. So the evidence shows that during his pretrial incarceration at Westville Correctional Facility, Richard Allen had been monitored, intimidated, and mentally abused by correctional officers who are also members of the Odinite cult. 2 of those correctional officers are named Sergeant Robinson and Sergeant Jones. Those Westville Corrections officers boldly wore patches on their Department of Corrections DOC uniforms that proclaimed, "In Odin We Trust," along with other patch displaying symbols of Odinism, which are interlocking triangles. Both Odinite correction officers, Sergeant Robinson and Sergeant Jones, also displayed images of ruins and or other Odinite symbols on their Facebook pages. As recently as June 25th, 2023, for example, Odinite Sergeant Robinson openly displayed a photograph of his Odinite altar on his Facebook page. A similar altar can be found on the Facebook page of Brad Holder. That ain't looking good, guys. Beginning at least on April 3rd, 2023, Sergeant Jones and Sergeant Robinson wore their Odine patches when the defense team visited Richard Allen. Can they do that? Maybe they're getting, because it says here, we were wondering how they're getting them on their uniform. So it says here that they wore their Odine patches when the defense team visited Richard Allen. I'm wondering if maybe they're not going through a uniform check every day. Maybe it's once a week. Maybe they're putting the patches on just when he's being seen by the defense to intimidate him. And then they take the patches off. But you'll be able to see that on camera, them walking around with the patch on or patch off. They would be able to look that up, but you'll see. However, Sergeant Robinson's and Sergeant Jones' brazen display of their Odinite patches came to an end on August 17th, 2023. What changed? So apparently they have video of these guys wearing these patches up until August 17th. Why suddenly did they no longer display their Odinite patches beginning on the August 17th, 2023 visit between Richard Allen and his defense team? Here's your possible answer. Okay, sorry. Before I give you your possible answer, I got to get a drink really quick. Sorry, guys. Let me mute me really quick. Okay, thank you for waiting for me. Oh, thank you. Thanks. Again, thanks, Jan. I saw that. Thank you. See, that's how you get my attention. Thank you. I'll look that up. It'll let me. Oh, yes. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll show those. Thank you. I saw those. I thought that was really crazy too. Okay. I was trying to see where we were. Okay. So the possible answer. It was not until an August 10th, 2023 deposition of Trooper Terry Holman that Richard Allen's defense team finally revealed to the prosecutor and to the Unified Command that for many months, Richard Allen's defense team, had been fully aware of the strong evidence linking Odism to the murders. It was also at the August 10th, 2023 deposition that the Unified Command learned that Richard Allen's defense team was not only aware of this information, but also intended to expose the linkage of Abby and Libby's M's to Odinism and would also be revealing the names of the Odinists at trial. At the deposition, Holman and the prosecutor also learned that defense team obviously intended on exposing the Unified Command's utter failure in pursuing the Odinist suspects in spite of the powerful evidence of Odinite's involvement in the M's. However, and this is important to note, at his August 10th, 2023 deposition, Richard's defense team did not let Holman or anyone else know that the defense team, was fully aware of the Odinite correction officers at Westville wearing the Odinine We Trust patches. Richard Allen defense team next visit with Richard Allen at Westville following the August 10th, 2023 deposition occurred 1 week later on August 17th, 2023. So I'm wondering, when did Richard Allen bring this to the attention of his lawyers? Because as soon as somebody intimidated me, tried to intimidate me with a patch on their jacket. Well, first off, somebody that intimidates me with a patch on their jacket, other than a cop, that would be the day that I die. But, and that's the bad way to put it, but I just don't get that. Let me know in the chat. These first. So do you think that I don't know. Do you think that I don't know. Like, I'm just wondering when these patches were put on. These are getting in my head. Let's see where we were. So Richard Allen's defense team next visit with Richard Allen at Westville's following the August 10th, 2023 deposition occurred 1 week later on August 17th, 2023. Curiously, or perhaps not so curiously, in those 7 days since the defense team revealed their knowledge that evidence linked Odinists to the murders for the first time Sergeant Robinson was no longer wearing his Odine patch. I really want to know more about this Odine cult, or group. I don't want to call them a cult, but group. Let me know if you guys know anything about them. If anyone in the chat knows anything about this kind of a group, let me know. I'd love to pick your brain because I want to know about this group of people. Are they normally violent towards humans? Are they normally do they normally have human sacrifices? Do they normally work in higher ups, more powerful people? I don't know what this is about. So it's just, Arlene, you've been saying that. Yeah, you've been saying that I think that you said that on our last live that you thought Richard Allen was not guilty or more being, coerced. So you may be correct. It says it was almost as if someone had alerted Odinite Robinson that the gig was up because the lawyers knew about the links to Odism. So lose the patch and pray the defense attorneys had never noticed the patches on prior visits. Unfortunately for Westville and Unified Command, Rick's defense team absolutely noticed the Odine patches worn by Sergeant Robinson and Sergeant Jones beginning April 3rd, 2023. Furthermore, Rick's defense team absolutely noticed the conspicuous absence of Sergeant Robinson's Odine patches following Trooper Holman's realization that Rick's defense team, Richard, was fully aware of the connection between the murders and Odism, as well as the failure of the Unified Command to follow through on the evidence that linked the murders to Odism. So I guess Richard, we're calling him Rick now. That's what they were calling him there. So the court will also learn in the body of this memorandum that Sergeant Jones and Sergeant Robinson were seemingly always by Richard Allen's side during most, if not every visit. And that's what I don't get. So when you're in jail, or in this case, a prison, when you're with your attorneys, aren't you alone? Aren't you supposed to be alone, left alone? Nobody in there with you? So you have total privacy. I'm just wondering why they were always with them. It says that normally it says that they were if not during most, if not every visit, normally corrections officers, usually Sergeant Robinson and Sergeant Jones, were within earshot of every conversation between Richard and his attorneys and between Richard and his wife. Close enough that Richard would have to be worried about any conversation with his attorneys and his wife being overheard by Sergeant Robinson and Sergeant Jones or other corrections officers. Supposed to be alone, Donna said, yeah. You guys are saying yeah? And Jan and I know we did not have this on our bingo card. That's so funny. There's a lot of things that I don't have on my bingo card, and they just keep showing up though. I'm like, what's going on? But I could see them if at the same time, maybe in jails they don't. Maybe in jails they don't have like guards that guard you when they're, because you're like, that's usually you're in a jail. But maybe in a prison, you always have a guard with you. Maybe that's like a stipulation or something. I don't know. Where are we at? Beginning on April 3rd, 2023, and for several visits thereafter, the Westville Corrections officers even videotaped attorney visits between Richard and his defense team. Now, that shouldn't have happened. Most of the time, if not every time, it was Sergeant Jones or Sergeant Robinson bringing the handheld camcorder to the visit. Corrections officers even required that Richard Allen be positioned facing the window where the corrections officer was videotaping the attorney visits and the handheld camcorder. This positioning of Richard Allen's body would allow the corrections officers to videotape Richard Allen's mouth as he talked to his attorneys. Richard would therefore not be able to privately discuss anything with his attorneys, such as the guards are telling me that my wife and family will be killed unless, okay, so he can't tell him this, such as the guards are telling me that my wife and family will be unalived unless I call my wife and tell her that I unalived those girls. Instead, a mentally defeated Richard Allen would continually mutter to his defense team at every visit these types of general questions. Is my wife alive? Is my family alive? Is my wife safe? Is my family safe? At once, well, they should have that on recording then, too. If they're recording them, You're told, Harley Ryder. I see you. Welcome in. I keep losing my spot. At one such meeting with his attorneys, Richard Allen mumbled in somewhat incoherent fashion that Odinists were threatening him. It would be important to know that Richard Allen's defense team never mentioned the words Odinists or Odinism, or informed Richard Allen that evidence suggests that Odinists murdered Abby and Libby until August 25th, 2023, when his defense team, in the presence of his wife, who was visiting with Rick in the prison, first discovered the exculpatory Odin-related evidence to Rick. So, Rick's defense team felt that having him remain unaware would hopefully keep Rick a bit safer. Due to Rick's weakened mental state and the concern that he might unwittingly discuss his attorney's strategy to Sergeant Jones and Sergeant Robinson, Rick's attorneys opted to not discuss Odinism with their client out of fear that Sergeant Robinson and Sergeant Jones would then be on the alert that Richard's defense team was aware of the Odinite involvement. Richard's defense team needed additional time to investigate and review evidence before feeling confident and comfortable in revealing their knowledge to the court of the strong evidence that Odinites murdered the girls, and the Unified Command had chosen to do nothing about it, but in fact had hidden these facts from Judge Denier. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Diener. Sorry. Therefore, Richard's defense team opted to keep Richard in the dark about Odinite connection to the murders supported by the evidence. Again, more detailed information concerning the Odinite corrections officers, as well as the documentation supporting that information, will be provided in the body of this memorandum. So remember, we'll get pictures, places, and things here soon. Liggett concealed, so the next thing they're going to go over, Liggett concealed certain witness testimony and falsified other witness testimony in order to prevent Liggett's bogus timeline from being exposed to Judge Denier. I'm going to read that again because that was kind of long. Liggett concealed certain witness testimony and falsified other witness testimony in order to prevent Liggett's bogus timeline from being exposed to Judge Denier. Beyond the shocking omissions concerning the pagans' cult links to the murders and the fact that Odinists were also watching Richard Allen, akin to foxes watching the henhouse, the evidence will show that Liggett's affidavit for search warrant is also filled with lies and other concealed information concerning witness testimony. This false and concealed information completely eviscerates the state's timeline. The evidence will show that Tony Liggett knew of the major problems that these witnesses testimony created, and Liggett chose to solve his problem by concealing this information and even falsifying other information in order to bolster the state's bogus timeline. The evidence will show that Liggett concealed facts concerning descriptions that key witness Betsy Blair made directly to Liggett face-to-face in 2019 concerning, 1, the person that she, Betsy Blair, observed on the bridge, and 2, a vehicle that she, Betsy Blair, observed at the CPS parking lot at around 2:15 p.m. Do y'all remember that? I remember that in the PCA. Thank you, Angela. I appreciate that so much. Oh, thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, true crime. Probably defenders really stepped up their game. Is he have a defender too? He does, man. He does. What are they paying these guys? Well, they're paying them a lot, actually. I mean, you know, our girl over in Idaho, she's getting 200. And then Jay Lawston's getting 100 and I think 180 an hour or something like that. That's a lot. And now that the case is, postponed indefinitely, they're going to get paid for a long time. So, because I remember them there was like witnesses that placed the car at the CPS. They placed the car going by the, the little general store. And then they had someone observe him at the bridge, I thought. So, wow. Like they observed somebody at the bridge. Very, very crazy. So he didn't admit to being there at the time, but he did admit to being there that day. That's what's so weird. And I think it was within that time frame, actually. For Liggett's timeline to work and to place Richard Allen on the Monon High Bridge at 2:13, the time of the famous Down the Hill video, Liggett desperately needed Betsy Blair to describe a man on the bridge that looked like Richard Allen, and furthermore desperately needed Betsy Blair to describe a car that she observed parked at the CPS parking lot at approximately 2 p.m. as looking like Richard Allen's black Ford Focus. Suffice it to say, the evidence will show that Liggett concealed from Judge Denier that Betsy Blair described a man on the bridge that looked nothing like Richard Allen and described a car at the CPS lot that looked nothing like Richard Allen's car, both in color and design. Now, why am I thinking that there was like was there a PT Cruiser or like one of those HHR cars? Like were one of those cars involved? In this case, did someone say that they saw a PT Cruiser there that day? Let me know in the chat if you guys heard that. I don't know why that's coming in my head right now. Like I'm like a psychic, but it just popped in my head and I'm like, why am I thinking PT Cruiser in this case? So maybe that's the car that they were like getting them confused with. I don't know. I don't know why that's in my head. You did hear that too? Okay. I'm not the only one that's okay. What's that? Where are we at? So the evidence will show that Betsy provided these timeline-defeating descriptions directly to Liggett face-to-face 2 times in 2019. Yet Liggett failed to inform Judge Denier of these descriptions, as well as inform Denier of the fatal flaws that these missing descriptions created for the timeline. The evidence will also show that Liggett just flat out lied about what he claimed Sarah Carball told him in 2017 concerning a man walking down the road near the murder scene. For Liggett's timeline to work, Liggett needed Sarah Carball to describe a man walking down the road wearing a blue jacket who had BLLOD, covering his clothing. However, in 2017, Sarah did not say those things. These did not prevent Liggett from affirming under oath that Sarah Carball did say those things. In fact, what Sarah Carball actually told Liggett in 2017 was that she, Carball, observed a man walking down the road wearing a tan coat whose clothes were muddy. I wish I had visuals. Like, okay. So a blue jacket with red would look more like green, red jacket. I'm trying to like put the colors together in my head. Like trying to think if that would even look the same. So it says, in fact, what Sarah Carball actually told Liggett in 2017, she said she actually saw observed a man walking down the road wearing a tan jacket whose clothes were muddy. I don't know. In 2017, those missed those times. I know those were the times, weren't they? Yeah, I feel like I need to do an experiment. Nowhere did Carball claim in 2017 that the man she observed was wearing a blue coat. Nowhere did Carball claim in 2017 that the man she observed was wearing bloody clothes. Nowhere this truth about. Okay, sorry, that was a period. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, thank you for becoming a member, Angela. Welcome. Welcome to the membership. Welcome. We're actually going to be doing a members only live soon because we didn't really talk about vacation too much. And I have some videos to show you guys too. Some like Idaho related stuff and some stuff just related to me. If you guys want to see, we'll have to do a live. Get caught up. Thanks for becoming a member. I appreciate that, guys. It really helps the channel. Okay, so it says nowhere. Period. This truth about what Sarah Carball actually told Liggett in 2017 blows up Liggett's timeline, which is the likely reason Liggett failed to include this information in his affidavit. Additional evidence will be presented in the body of this memorandum. The defense believes that the evidence strongly supports the contention that Liggett intentionally concealed evidence from Judge Denier and lied about other evidence to Judge Denier in his affidavit for search warrant. However, even if Liggett did not intentionally conceal evidence from the judge or did not intentionally place false information into the search warrant affidavit, at a minimum, Liggett behaved recklessly when he prepared the affidavit, omitting those facts from Judge Denier and providing false information in the affidavit. As stated in the motion accompanying this brief, the defense must show that Liggett either intentionally or recklessly omitted facts from the affidavit or provided false statements in the affidavit. And the next thing that they're going to go over, this is a long paper. Oh, I thought you were homeless again, Cheryl, for a sec. I thought when I read that, when I just saw I got a place now, I was like, no, Cheryl. So I'm glad that Cheryl's my girl. She went through COVID homeless and didn't get COVID. That still amazes me. Every time I think of that, like, man, Cheryl, you were out there with all of that. You are made of steel, maybe titanium too. So the next thing they're going to go over in this memorandum is evidence supporting these facts were needless in a giant haystack of discovery. To conclude the introductory portion of this memorandum, the defense would tell the court that the evidence supporting the assertions contained throughout this memorandum was buried deep in the mountain of discovery, thousands upon thousands of pages of paperwork, and hundreds of hours of videos, but not buried deep enough. The court will know at the conclusion of this memorandum that the defense is not inventing, fabricating, or exaggerating these facts, no matter how crazy these facts may appear. Richard Allen's defense team is attaching to this memorandum the supporting documentation that provides proof that these facts are true. Wow. Okay, so we're going to stop there with reading for tonight because it's going to get crazy in here. We got pictures, we got places, we got things coming up next. I know. So Kaylee needs to said between Klein, Allen, all these new people, I just don't know anymore. That's how I feel. Because there for a minute with this case, it must have been maybe 2020. I don't know. Because like with COVID and everything, everyone was kind of, I don't really know what I was doing during COVID because I guess I wasn't watching TV or something. I wasn't keeping up with my true crime. But I missed some parts of the Keegan Klein and saga and all of that. So like and the other guy, the Logan, like the property that the girls were found on, like with him and his mix and all of this. I need to go back through and just do like a mental like have like a day just go back and like mentally go through and like familiarize myself with this case again, which I mean, I'm very familiar with it, but there's so many details and so many interwebs. There's so many things that are just going on with this case right now, as of right now. Like even before this came out, we could have went down a rabbit hole. Harley Ryder said 3 months before this happened, only 10 miles away in Flora, Indiana. 4 sisters were burned. Oh, oh my gosh, trapped in a house fire known as the Flora Fire, still unsolved. I don't know, but I want to know more about that. I'm gonna write that down. I'm curious. Got my curiosity. Ron Logan, thank you, Terry Dean. Thank you. Thank you. It's like where the clients just disappeared. Yeah, I think he's in prison, but I'm trying to think of how many years he got. I can't remember. So I was going to go back up to the top here. So basically what we went over today was just the introduction. And we went through the 8 things to know over the case that they're going to go over in this memorandum. They're going to give us, like I said, some pictures and some diagrams to go with what they're saying. We didn't go over the table of contents because that's what we're going over kind of right now. But Odinism, we went over Odinism, Odinites, and ruins, which we could go down a rabbit hole for probably days and months and years on that. We went over the failure to pursue the Odinites links, Odinites in Westerville Correctional Facility guarding Richard Allen. Liggett concealed certain witness testimony and falsified other witness testimony. We went over the evidence supporting these facts. And the 5, and then on our next slide, we'll go over the 5 parts breakdowns of the memorandum. So we'll go over part 1 and we'll start on the crime scene. So the next slide is going to be a big one again, because, of course, they're all big, but, but I'm going to have to get back on. Yeah, I'm going to have to get back on this. Yeah. Like me too, Donna. I'm just like, oh my Lordy. Like I did do some videos. I might have to maybe I'll just go back and watch my videos. Cause sometimes, you do a video and then after a while, some of the details, if you go back and you watch it, or if you listen to it again, you're like, wait, oh, you miss things. It happens with the Idaho case with me all the time. Let me see here. What's proton mail? I don't know what that is. Rita, oh my gosh, that's so funny. Why can't Nancy Grace take on this 130-page bombshell? I looked her up right before I came on live. I was like, I need to hear from Nancy because she's been covering this. And, she's probably like, okay, well, they told me not to cover it. Like, because, we're not supposed to be looking at the papers because they're kind of sealed, but they put them out there and then they seal them back up. Like I said in the beginning of the live, you already squeezed the toothpaste tube. You already got it squirting out. We can't put it back in now, It means I know, right? I know what IKR means. Rita, look, I know that one. I don't know a lot of them. See, Cheryl knows. And then in the beginning of the live, we did go over we went over the court TV. So we did kind of a timeline and got us caught up to what we were at today. I do have a complete timeline over this whole case. I have a playlist. I have 5 or 6 videos. I think 6 or 7 videos actually. This is the 7th or 8th over this case in particular. So we've read through search warrants and some of the affidavits that came out. And then I did a timeline in the beginning. I think it was a pre-recorded, and my pre-recorded videos, they used to be pretty cool. I don't know. They used to be different. They used to be just me back here. I don't edit any of my videos. So forgive me for that. If you see them, they're out there. And I don't delete any videos either. So you can always even go watch my old ones. But we went over a lot of stuff tonight. So we have a lot to think about. I don't know. I don't even know how to end the live because I want to be like, do we think he did it? But I think all of us are just sitting here right now going what the hell did we just listen to? And what are we reading? And where's this coming from? It's just crazy. Arlene said, I'm sure Nancy Grace has all the info. Can't wait for her to hear her flip out about trial. Yeah, real tea time. I know. She's back there too. Oh my gosh. So someone today thought that I was making fun of Nancy. And you can't see her tonight, but she's over there. And no, I mean, I do make fun of Nancy. I love her though. She's like my bestie. Who wouldn't? But they were like, you're so mean to Nancy, and I can make you feel so insecure about yourself right now. And my comment reply was like laughing emojis, a bunch of them. And I was like, I love Nancy. I was like, did you not see the life-size Nancy behind me? I do make fun of Nancy every time. I always will. Because Nancy is not the greatest dresser in the world. Neither am I. Look at me. Look at me. I can't dress myself, and I own a boutique. I own a store, and I can't dress myself. I say that all the time. I'm like, I can't dress myself. But one day Nancy came on live, or I was on live, and she came on, and I wanted to make fun of her. And she was wearing a jacket that I own. So I stopped making fun of her after that. Now, I used to always just tease her. I'm like, Nancy. I just always did tease her. Odin is the god of death in mythology. Oh, JK. We're curious to know. We're like, I'm over here. I'm like, does anyone know about this religion? Or like, is it religion? I don't even, mythology? Like, what is it? Is it like, I don't want to say like it's a, a cult if it's not a cult. It's probably just like a religion, I would say. As a subgroup. All right, is part of the, I don't know, that's different. I'm just kidding. That's different. We're going to have to get the name down so I know that I'm saying it right. I'm sure it was the sisters or the ex. He passed the poly. We have 4. Only said 2 colored girls, not 4, which she states he just got the number wrong. Oh. I do love the blue blazer that Rita. I do love that. She does look sharp in the blue blazer. I'm going to get one to match her, actually. I like her in that. No, there was just like a couple of things that she would wear. I would just tease her on them because that's just my personality to tease. And that's my father. My father gave me that. You could thank him for my personality. I don't know a lot about Odinism or Odinites, but I'm going to have to look into it. Sounds coldish. PKC, yeah. Me too. It sounds a little something. Cat's Life says she loves Nancy. Oh, mama. Oh, sorry. I was trying to get back up to your comment, Deb. Rest in peace, mama. My mama didn't like Nancy at first. Then after she had her babies, then she liked Nancy. So rest in peace to my mama too. Steve said I'm by no any means an expert, but I know a lot of it. Or know a lot of it. Yeah. No, I said it right. Yeah, to me, it sounds like a little cultish. I'll have to look more into it. Maybe I can get a hold of somebody that knows like about this kind of stuff. I was thinking a professor of some sort. But I don't know. Cheryl, that's like me. I kind of look like my mom. They say I do. But I do have this this document for you guys. And I'm going to go ahead and put this I'm going to put the link in the chat if anyone wants to read, if you guys are like, oh my gosh, I need to read that. I'll get it to you guys. Oh, JK, you know all kinds of stuff. I need you to come up on panel with me and talk them sometime. And there's the documents too, if you want to read over them. I'm going to read back over them. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow evening, or maybe we'll skip a night. We'll do like Ruby Frank tomorrow, and then we'll do it. We'll see how we feel. My watch is dead. So that means it's time for me to go to sleep. I'm trying to see what the date is. What is today? Is today Monday or Tuesday? I don't even know. Tuesday. Okay. That's so bad, guys. I went on vacation and then I came home. I'm like, what? Yeah, be careful if you're outside, Cheryl, this late. It's kind of late. Yeah, it's late, Cheryl. Get inside. What are you doing out there? Just getting a phone card. Make sure your phone's turned on as soon as you get it, so you have a location device. Yeah, maybe we'll do it tomorrow. I was trying to just check my calendar if you're wondering what I'm looking at. I'm over there checking the calendar. So let's see here. Well, thank you, Mr. Rosebud. I appreciate that. You're outside too, Donna. Get back inside, Donna. Yeah, everybody get inside. Jan, when do you go on you're on vacation? When do you go on the cruise? When do you get on the ship? What's going on with that? I'm just so excited for you. And take pictures. I'm like excited, but I'm scared for you. Ever since Titan imploded, I'm like, I don't even want to go near the ocean. I didn't even go to the ocean when we went to California this year. I'm like, I'm cool. That case had me all kinds of crazy. But let me know if you're still in the chat when you're going to be going on you're officially on vacation, but when you'll be on the trip. And by with war flare, I'll get it out there. But let me close these out while I'm waiting on you guys to answer. And I hope you guys all have a really good evening. Thanks for coming to the live tonight. I appreciate you all so much. Hopefully we'll be back tomorrow and I'm not sued and in jail by tomorrow. But hey, they put the documents out first. I'm just here to relay them. So yeah. And like Haley said, like before you leave. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys all tomorrow. And we do have our new song from Steve. So if you haven't got to listen to it yet, you can listen to it in the outro. But I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Bye guys.